Father's Day is just around the corner, and let's be honest, Dad does not need another coffee mug or pair of socks. Right, Steve?
I don't know. I kind of go through socks.
Right, Dad, Jesse, Daddy?
Yes.
Meet the Chairman Pro from Manscaped, the perfect Father's Day gift for dad who deserves to look his best all the time. This isn't just a razor. The Chairman Pro is a high-tech, dad-approved grooming upgrade. Steve,
That was very dadly what you just did.
are you going to use that on your beard? Like, are you keeping your beard? What's the deal here?
I upkept it a little bit. I disconnected it. I think it looks a little bit more on purpose when I do that. I took out a little bit of the straggly bits. I'm making a go with this thing here.
Jesse, do you think that Steve can pull it off?
Yeah, oh yeah, with the power of Manscaped, you can do anything.
The Chairman Pro, perfect for the dad who taught you how to shave and now needs a reminder of how it's really done. Have him join the over 12 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and use the code DANGLE for 15% off your entire order at manscaped.com. Let's start the show.
The Steve Dangle Podcast with your hosts, Steve Dangle, Adam Wilde, and Jesse Blake.
Jesse, you were at Locker Cleanout yesterday. Obviously, it's going to be somber. Did you get a sense beyond that initial feeling? Like, how did guys come across to you? How did it hit you?
They all have their individual emotions, I think. Like Tavares is just talking about how he wants to come back, and everybody is relatively disappointed at where they're at. Like, nobody wants to be doing locker clean out, and I think each guy has their own kind of temperament towards how they handle the media. You know, and like you don't really know how they're feeling behind the scenes. You just know how they feel in front of the cameras.
Right. I the one that I looked at that seemed the most relaxed, I think, maybe not relaxed or whatever, was Max Pacioretty.
I was going to say that.
He seemed to be very composed and very thoughtful, and also like, okay, this could be it.
He couldn't be less to blame.
Yeah, the man
he
could have
tried.
done more.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't think he looks at the playoffs and says that he could have had a better playoffs. He had a pretty amazing playoffs, and I don't think he's the reason that they're at locker cleanout.
No, I think a lot of the guys there yesterday felt like crap because they're like, yeah, no, this is a little bit my fault. Or maybe it's just, woe is me, we got booed. I don't know. I'm fascinated by what's going to happen in the days to come. It's so eerily quiet. I was harping on, I can't believe Shanahan hasn't been fired yet. Could be a precursor to him getting suspended. I mean, anytime...
Suspended?
Extended.
Oh.
Sorry. It's early in the show. It's early in my coffee. Extended. And I mean, anytime you have a president who got you 2 series wins in 12 years, you got to get him.
So
you got to lock him up.
The beats of locker cleanout day are very different. Like, it's a very long day, longer than like any other media day kind of on the calendar.
just in interviews alone, the Maple Leafs posted an hour's worth.
Exactly. Yeah, we're hanging around there all day, and as the day goes on,
why did they do that?
What do you mean?
Why'd the Leafs post an hour's worth of content? You got to block out the noise. That's why you lost. You could have made it maybe 5-1, maybe even 4-1.
I mean, that's a bit of a stretch, but okay.
No, they got to take some ownership here.
as the day goes on, you see media trickle out. Because
Okay.
it starts with Berube, the coach, and then it goes to like Auston and Mitch and Willie and Riley and all that. And then when we're starting to get down to like Knies and Pacioretty and Tanev, you see like the local news stations of the world start to exit and then take their cameras home. And then
those who are there for the playoffs, essentially.
Exactly. Us
Not
sports
even.
people are still there. Yeah. A lot of those cameras weren't there for like even Game 7.
Really?
Yeah. There's more people there on locker cleanout day than there are during any of the playoff games I've seen.
There were a couple names that got to ask questions, and I'm like, I haven't heard your name since last locker cleanup.
Yeah. So when you get to that day, it's fun to see because, it's more people than on any other day in the calendar. I think even more than the first day of like training camp or anything like that.
Does it change the types of questions that are asked, Jesse? Like when you have a bunch of people that have not been asking questions all year, and they come in and they're like, "Hey, what about?" And
a
then,
couple of them. It's not like they don't control the room or anything like that, but you'll get the occasional one and it's be like, "Oh, you asked that and you don't really know the narrative around that question." That kind of came out of nowhere. Like there's no one to call out or anything.
No. I'm just.
If you watch the whole thing, you can kind of hear the questions and like, "Oh, that probably didn't come from a sports person." If the day starts, it's cool to go into the room where they have their team meetings, because that's where Craig Berube holds his press conference for the end of season media avail. And it started in this room here. This is where they have their team meetings.
Man,
that table's not there.
That is a terrible slogan.
It's so tough.
It's so bad.
It's so tough.
And for anybody listening, in this room, they have a slogan on the wall. It says, "No grit, no grind, no greatness." And I posted this photo, and a couple other of the reporters did, and a lot of people dunked on it on Twitter. And dunked on the Leafs for the slogan.
I know what they're going for. They didn't find it.
Syntax and grammar. So it's difficult.
Man.
It's difficult to boil it down like that. I respect that they have to come up with a new one every year. Here's the thing. Why not just come up with one and just keep it that way?
Just
you don't
grind.
You don't need a new slogan every year.
How about just grind?
Yeah. Just write the passion that unites us all. That's all it needs to be. There you go. Boom. Done.
On the other side of the wall, I took a picture of it too. There's a team identity, like kind of ethos.
Yeah.
And the team identity ethos says team, tough, mentally and physically, relentless, disciplined, north, and heavy. Let me see if I can pull it up here. But yeah, that's the team identity there. Are we liking the team identity?
I mean, it's not for us. It's for them. I hope they drew inspiration from it.
If you told William Nylander, I'll give you $100 billion if you can tell me what that slogan is right now, do you think he could do it?
There you go. So there it's on the screen there for everybody who wants to see it.
What?
Team identity. Team tough, mentally and physically, relentless, disciplined, north, and heavy.
What % of the team could tell you that?
Tell you what.
Like,
what do you mean?
Gun to the earth. Hey guys, what's your team slogan this year? You walk by it every day. You sit in front of it for hours at a time. Yeah. What is it? Do you think any of them know that slop?
I think just because of the fact that they spend so much time at Ford Performance Center in this little room watching film, that they must know.
Remember
Steven Lorentz, end of list.
Steve, you've never watched Drive to Survive, but some of the drivers can't even name their own teams because the sponsorships change. Like even like Lewis Hamilton has to be prompted. He's like, we're what? AMG, Petronas, Mercedes, F1 team. And then it's like Scuderia, Ferrari. Like you don't even know. But I think
North and heavy might have been enough.
I think those are probably keywords that Berube uses a lot.
That's what I was about to say. This seems like Berube wrote this.
Yeah.
Like
heavy.
This sounds like everything he's been saying in his press conferences.
Do you need to, let's throw the opposite words up there and see if that's what the team would go by.
That's not the point.
No,
silly,
so
goofy,
individual,
lovable, cuddly.
weak, mentally and physically shit, undisciplined, south and light. Like, come on, everybody.
He's just trying to reinforce how he wants them to play.
How'd it go?
Yeah.
I get it.
Now,
Steve's never been in a locker room.
No.
He wouldn't get it.
He does. He's never.
Damn.
Doesn't. He never played the game.
Can't even skate.
Never played the game.
No.
Okay,
You do your.
I got an Instagram comment sitting to my right.
You do your adult beer league, learner league.
Hey,
Have you guys won a game yet?
We've won 2, and I wasn't there for one of them.
Do you have a point?
No, not yet.
Oh no! Aren't you the only guy on the team without
There's
a point?
3 people. 2 of us have missed a game, and 1's a defenseman. So, yeah, I'm looking to get off the. Well, friggin', because the Leafs lost. Now there's an Oilers game Sunday
At 3.
at 3 in the afternoon.
Yeah, I guess you're just shit out of
What
luck.
time? What time is hockey?
6:15. So if it
You're not
doesn't-
making it.
I'm making it. No, it's down the street.
Overtime.
But if it
Going
doesn't,
overtime.
if it doesn't make it overtime, I'm going to be fine. I might be a little late.
It's also not going to start on time. Like if it says 3
dude.
on the clock, it's 3:30 puck drop or something.
Yeah.
It's going to set a record for the longest over. Actually, no, it isn't. It just needs to be long enough that I miss it.
You know what you should do? You should do the whole
Bail?
stream in your equipment.
That's a great idea.
So then when you're done,
I'll
you
be
just
so
go around.
hot.
I think you should do it for
Now,
the bit.
Oilers fans might get mad at that, though, because my uniform's green.
Well, wear like
Just wear the shoulder pads.
yeah, wear that's what I'm talking.
Just wear my equipment.
Put your
Yeah,
shoulder
yeah.
pads and your elbow pads.
You know
and like
what?
the hockey pants and
You
everything.
know what? I need a bit. There's no Leafs. I need a bit. I'll
there you
do that
go.
bit.
That's
Do
a
the
great
whole
idea,
stream
Jesse.
in the equipment. You're like, I gotta go after this. Do it the whole time, and then when you're done, you sprint over, you score a goal.
And then I got to drive in it.
Yeah,
I've done that before.
yeah.
all
Driving
right.
the pants are easy to drive in. Like you don't need that.
Yeah, of course. You know what? I'm sold. I'm sold, and then I'm gonna get my first talk.
You're gonna do it.
By the way,
No,
Maple
I'll
Leaf
score
Square-
a goal off my ass.
Maple Leaf Square behind us is just wrapping up. They're just pulling the last bits out of it. Took a couple of days to get rid of everything. It's a bummer, but it's happened. I also want to mention that before we get into the player quotes, I think we need to talk about the management structure because that is going to be the first question on everybody's mind. And I should tell you, and Jesse will back me up because he was there, none of them spoke. Didn't hear from Shanny, didn't hear
No.
from Treliving, heard from obviously Berube.
Yes.
Now, there is a report in the Sports Business Journal today that the Maple Leafs could just eliminate the position of president and let Shanahan go, meaning they don't have to do that, but they have to renew his contract or find a different person for it. For many years,
That's always the sign you were super important.
I've always wondered.
When they just don't.
That's also a
replace you.
very Rogers thing. We all worked there.
Yeah, I know.
They love to eliminate positions and streamline the process, bring the silos together, is what they used to say. And I think, obviously, it feels like Shanny might be gone.
Why?
What's that? But
No, why? I think he deserves
The
an
losing,
answer to that
Steven.
question.
I've
Move
heard
on.
I've heard from a couple of
Oh,
different
it was like a couple years.
Yeah.
heard from a couple of different people apparently, and again, I could not confirm this. But there is evidently a board meeting tomorrow. So
Yes.
there is.
Yeah,
That's confirmed?
Yeah, I can aggregate some of the info if you want. After you dump what you got.
Yeah, well, all I was going to say is that they can't. It's not just Keith Pelly goes in, bang, you're gone. They got to bring it up to the board, and then they got to eliminate the position, and they got to do all that sort of stuff. So you need to. It's going to take some time, and the reason that you don't hear from Tree and you don't hear from Shanny is because we don't know if they're going to be here. And it might seem unfair to Tree, but the reality is, if Shanny goes, unless Treliving is promoted to something, that is Shanny's guy, and he may not be the next person's guy.
I don't know how many straight years I had to say bringing back Brendan Shanahan was unjustifiable. It was totally unjustifiable. And now we're in this stupid position where Brad Treliving, who has done, I don't know, I'd say a pretty good job. I'd say he gets at least a B on his report
Brad?
card. For B for Brad! And he's potentially going to get fired after... How many months has he been Leafs GM?
It's 23 currently.
23. Wow. So he's going to get fired potentially 23 months of good work into his job because he's Shanny's guy. Why did you allow for a scenario where there were Shanny's guys? If he's maybe, if he's, hey, if they don't do it this year on the 9th attempt or whatever the hell, we're firing him and everyone else is going to go. That's how you run a business.
Can I shed some light on that?
Go for it. They're dumb?
The ownership has changed. The Larry Tannenbaum.
Oh, they just got here.
No.
Yeah.
Steve, no, let me finish. Let me
Okay.
finish. I know you're mad.
Okay.
And I know you want to rage about this.
All right.
But the ownership structure is vastly different now.
Yeah.
You're talking about.
And that structure just got here.
Right. But that structure is actually wanting to make some changes.
Yeah.
So they're doing what you want. They're in the process of doing what you want.
I got a problem with one guy.
Okay. Well, can I finish my part
Yeah.
first and then you can tell me?
Go.
Okay. So, first thing,
Yeah.
Larry, big Masai guy, big Shanny guy.
Yep.
Larry Tannenbaum, he owned 25% of the team. He now owns 20% of the team because he sold 5 of it to Omers. And he was able to leverage Rogers and Bell to sort of do what he wanted to do, even though they owned about 37.5% each.
Yes.
Now that Bell has been bought out by Rogers, and Larry is basically on his way out anyway. I think he's going to sell the rest of it next year, 2026. Rogers, it really doesn't even matter what Larry wants now. Rogers owns so much of the team that they can go, that's great. See ya. And so that is why you had sort of a deadlock there. You had an owner that really believed in this guy who would be on the private jet with him to the GM meetings or to the Board of Governors meetings, who notably was apparently not this year. And I think that is part of what happened. Now, when it comes to executives in any organization, the rule of thumb is 3 to 5 years, and you probably are not going to be you're not going to affect much more change after that. You will stop being effective. And if you look at Shanny's first 3 to 5 years here, he was very effective.
Yes.
This team was in shambles.
I agree.
He established a culture. He brought in Dubas and Lamoriello and Hunter. And for their goods and their bads, and they all had positives and negatives, you can't deny that them and Mike Babcock, it completely changed the culture here. It was a mess before.
Well, there were alumni who wouldn't even show up.
They were suspending their own hockey players for showing up to practice late, and it wasn't the first time. Remember the Nazem Kadri quote?
Yeah.
And so now, though, I would argue, and I think everybody would agree, 12 years, the last 7 years, he's been largely ineffective. And so that rule holds true, but you had a deadlock at the top levels, just like they did with Masai the last time Masai's contract came up. They had a deadlock and ultimately re-signed him because the Rogers side wanted him gone. Bell and Larry didn't. And so that's why. And I know it's frustrating. And I know you're like, but what did you just... And the thing is that with a corporation like this, the owners did have a say in this, and therefore they, especially a company like Bell, are going to want to go with, well, this is the thing we know. Mm-hmm. They don't look at sports the way you and I look at sports. They look at it like, well, how many playoff home games are we going to get?
So
Are we going to get an
how many did they
opportunity?
get?
4 a year.
How many more would they have gotten if they...
That's an answer to the question I do not know.
With the new ownership and Rogers now being in charge of the team and Keith Pelly now being at his position for, what is it, like a year and a bit now?
I think it's quite literally like July last year.
Is it July? So yeah, we're coming up on the year anniversary. So now that we've seen a season play out and everybody kind of has the information on the Leafs and what happened, with the board meeting on Thursday, things can obviously change because they have to have the meeting. But that's when it supposedly is. And coming out of that meeting, the big topic of conversation is the redundancies, the topic of conversation with the Leafs specifically, not with the organization as a whole, but it kind of just trickles up and down. They have a lot of redundancies in the front office at the executive level all the way down to where the players are. Mm-hmm. And Rogers, because this is kind of how they run their corporation, the word everybody's using is streamline. It's clearly coming from a couple of the same sources. All the insiders have that same line right now, is they want to eliminate a lot of positions within the front office, and they want to bring in somebody to run the whole thing and have a very lean staff. So that's kind of what they're looking at doing coming out of that board meeting. And the reason that nobody knows what's going to happen out of that is because they don't even know. They need to talk about this. They need to discuss it. And because it is such a corporate monolith, they need a million voices in there, and they need to discuss everything in every different way, and they need to come out of that and then make those decisions. So Brad Treliving's job is on the table because they don't know if they want to continue with that position there, or if they want a president who's going to run the whole thing, if it's going to be him or not. Brendan Shanahan's job is obviously on the table because his contract has expired, and that's what they're talking about, this organization. And going forward, we kind of don't know what direction they're going to take. We can kind of assume what direction they're going to take because Keith Pelly isn't happy with how this thing ended, and the Rogers team doesn't want all of these bodies in the front office, so we can kind of guess and deduce where they might go, but they still have to talk about it.
And you know, one thing I would...
And that involves like the family and the big people having these conversations. This
will come down to what side convinces Tony Staffieri and Ed Rogers. Yeah. And I don't know what Shanahan's... it's sort of like Succession, right? I don't know who his votes are on the board, right? Who's a definite yes, who's a maybe, and who's a no. But I would say that it's going to be a very, very tricky position to try to defend that. Treliving might have an easier time, but in this particular instance, I want them to take their time. I don't want them to rush this. And I'm not talking about keeping Shanahan or not keeping Shanahan. It's not just about that. If you are moving on from Tree, then who? And there are not... I mean, the general manager free agent market stinks. Like, you want to go after... So then you're going after...
They really learn nothing.
Well, then you're going after somebody who might be under contract.
You're 5 weeks away from the draft. Again.
Yep.
Again.
But that's also pro sports. Like, most of these changes happen now. Most of them do, Steve.
Yeah.
And so, and again, if you're a general manager around the league or an assistant general manager or something like that, it's a pretty great opportunity walking into, hey, you got a pretty good defense set for the next few years. You've got 2 really good goalies. You got, at very least, Matthews and Nylander, who are under contract for a significant amount of time. That's a really good position to want.
Knies isn't going anywhere.
No, I
know a lot of people are worried about that.
We'll talk about it, but...
Yeah, I sort of broke it down in my video. Like, I don't see a scenario where he's able to leave.
Right.
Even if he wanted to.
So if you want to hear from management, you might not even get the chance. They might be gone.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of an in between. It's like between Christmas and New Year's. You don't know what day it is. You don't know what's happening, but it's happening. Now, what's the one thing I did cut you off because I wanted to at least give context to the story. What was the one thing you wanted to say there? What was the one guy?
Shanahan. That's all I'm asking for. I'm not like fire Brandon Pridham or fire Brad Treliving or fire Shane Doan or fire Cliff Fletcher. You know what? It's about damn time.
Fire Kyle Dubas again.
Yeah, like, dude, I have a problem with one guy.
Those names that you mentioned are people that they are looking at because the thing I heard is that there's a lot of people left over from the Dubas era and they're still working in that front office and they want to clean up the whole thing.
And to be honest, Jesse, I don't know if you heard this too. What I've heard is that it's super inefficient.
Yes.
That there's just so many freaking people here. And to be honest, I worked at Rogers in a day where like there was an assistant program director, there's a program director, there's a music director, there's a promotion director, just for radio. And you're like, holy, who do I go to?
They love middle management.
And so they love these guys. That was the old regime.
Yeah.
These guys love clearing those people out.
Exactly.
I was on a phone call.
They're not, hang on one sec. They're not going to cut from the scouting staff. They're not going to cut from the analytics staff. What they're going to try to do is go, hey, we got one boss rather than 3.
When I was on a phone call to negotiate a new deal, I looked at it as an opportunity to sort of start from scratch. And I asked them a truly ridiculous question. Who's my boss?
Yeah.
There was 5 seconds of silence on the other end of the phone.
Yeah. Yep.
Before one of them went, I'll do it. Like they volunteered. They didn't know.
That's good though. It's
I didn't know. They didn't know. Like, no one knows.
Right.
It's chaos.
And I feel like it's probably the same at the Leafs front office. So if you're expecting conversations about this, if you're expecting that you're going to hear from these guys anytime soon, you're not. It's going to take some time.
Yeah.
Couple days.
Yeah. Like next week after, something like that.
If any of you are hate watching this and you watch me on Sportsnet and you're like, how hasn't this guy been fired yet? They probably didn't know who was allowed. That's probably the only reason I was there that long gosh, I really hope someone fires Steve. Who's supposed to do it?
We might get a Friday news dump. We might get a Sunday news dump. Like it could be one of those.
Oh man, they'll wait till Steve's done his watch along.
Oh,
and then he's at hockey.
I did it. The game ended on time. Shanahan's been fired. No, I'm going anyway.
I can't wait.
I'll shoot it after.
I can't wait for the 12-year retrospective on him. That's going to be a long video.
An era wasted, dude. He was. I mean, you did a pretty good Coles notes there. Like, yes, it doesn't need to be. He's a bad guy. He's been nothing but great whenever I've spoken to him. But
I'm sure he loves saying, "Where's your pack your shit?"
Yeah, pack your
I've
shit.
been nothing but good to this guy. Pack your shit, a-hole.
Why isn't
You
he?
pointed to
Because
Maple Leaf Square and was like, "Hey, dude, why aren't you fired yet?"
Well,
Why isn't he walking out there?
I'm not his buddy.
in his underwear.
I'm not his buddy, and I'm not beholden to him. I'm beholden to the people on the other end of that camera and the other end of this microphone. And a guy who's been here for 12 years and won 2 series doesn't deserve to still be the guy in charge of everybody. They're cleaning up the front office or thinking about cleaning up the front office because why? Who was in charge? The core 4 is still together because why? Who was in charge? Everything comes back to one man. I haven't asked for a single other person to lose their job.
And Steve, what you're saying right now is a conversation they're going to have.
Yes.
So they're going to have it, and we're going to judge whether they came to the right conclusion.
Listen, people are not going to like this. It's gonna bite a little bit hard, but I'm going to say it anyway. The analytically inclined among us, if Brandon Pridham loses his job, you think the Mitch Marner, oh my God, what would we do without him? I heard that about Jake Gardiner, by the way. What are we going to do? What you don't like Jake Gardiner? Just wait and see what happens if they don't have him.
Those are 2 different players.
I agreed, but
No.
still.
They are the same.
I feel like I look at Pridham and I'm like, that guy could either be the next general manager or that guy could be fired. And I think either way, you're going to have people who are pissed off. You're going to have traditionalists who are pissed off if he becomes general manager. You're going to have analytics people who are pissed off if he gets fired. And the greatest mistake the Leafs ever made, losing Pridham.
That's because Leaf fans are evil pricks who can never be happy.
Yeah.
It couldn't be that there are more of us than any other fan base, and our opinions are many and varied. It's just too...
Well, you can't tweet that. You can't boil that down to a tweet.
It's just too difficult. There are so many people... Let me tell you, when the Leafs win the Cup, my behavior, I will not get into heaven. I'm going to be as awful to you as you were to us. Oh, you're going to know about it. The parade, Yonge Street, it's not big enough. It's not big enough. I think we start in St. John's.
And just make our way.
And we go all the way
through Montreal.
And I think we continue
Ottawa
onto a ferry at Vancouver Island and
I like
go
that.
all the way up to the Yukon. And then
There are a lot of Leaf fans up there.
across to Nunavut and back down again. High five Carlton the Bear when we go through like Cochrane, Ontario and all that. And then come back down and then start it over. Fuck you. But our damn team won't let us do that
So getting the locker clean out.
because they have the same guy in charge for 12 years.
Hello, hockey fans. Ready for NHL playoffs third round action?
Featuring the teams that it features and not the ones that it doesn't.
I wish it featured our team, but it doesn't.
Yep.
Doesn't mean that you can't get in on the thrilling action with BetMGM. My question to you is, all right, you've seen one game. Do you feel like you're going to get what you're expecting out of that Eastern Conference final, or now do you feel like, oh, shoot, I should have looked at this differently?
Well, I said Florida was going to win, so I think I'm looking at it great. There you go.
Okay.
I don't know, like we always get sucked into the first game. I mean, if you paid attention to Leafs-Panthers in that first game,
Leafs win.
Leafs in 4, that's not how it works. But there's a history between these two teams, a recent playoff history. It looks pretty good for Florida.
Jess?
Yeah, Florida looks really good. I'm not going to pick against Florida until they lose. They're the champs, and I think they've earned that right.
Sign up today at BetMGM. You can go to BetMGM.com/dangle. I'm sad about the Leafs still. Official sports betting partner of the NHL. BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 18 plus to wager, Ontario only. Please play responsibly. If you have any questions or concerns about your gambling or someone close to you, please contact Connects Ontario at 1-866-531-2600 to speak to an advisor free of charge. BetMGM operates pursuant to an operating agreement with iGaming Ontario. Jesse, I guess we can start. I was going to start with Willie, but we could just start with Auston because he's the first one up. Go to 101 if you can. And this we're going to let this run until about 2:55. So it's about a 2-minute thing, and he answers a couple of things. It's about pressure of playing in this market, plus the injury he was facing. So I think you'll find both of those illuminating.
Even from the Panthers after the game, I'm just wondering what it's like to play in this market and where do you land on that as maybe an excuse or a crutch for some of the past feelings?
I don't think that's ever really something that gets talked about too much or too much of a focus on. I think that's the nature of playing in here. It kind of comes with the territory, and like I said before, I think it's an amazing place to play. I love playing in Toronto and playing for this fan base and this organization, and I think that kind of stuff is just kind of outside noise that isn't really focused on or talked about too much in our locker room, I would say.
How challenging was physically the season for you?
Yeah, it was tough, definitely. Physically, it was a very tough season. I don't, need to get into the specifics of stuff, but got injured in training camp. Obviously wasn't feeling great throughout the first month or so of the season. Took some time off. Went to Germany, did all these things to try to feel better. Then just kind of in a place that felt like I could manage it. There was obviously some good stretches where I felt good. There were some stretches where I didn't feel very good. Definitely a tough year physically, but I'm confident with some time off and just going through my own process and stuff like that, and treatment and everything. I'm really confident I'll be back 100% next season, and there's nothing really to worry about.
Do you need surgery? Do you need surgery? Okay.
Can you share with us what happened, or you like to be private?
Yeah, I'm just going to keep it between myself.
Did it impact your ability to shoot the puck?
I think it impacted a lot of different things for sure, yeah.
Can you talk about how important Mitch Marner is to this team and how difficult it would be to lose him in free agency if he were to go elsewhere?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, he's, like I said the other night, he's a brother. He's such a good teammate, friend. We're extremely close. He's extremely close with a lot of guys on the team, and he's a big part of our team and has been a big part of our team. So, unfortunately, that's kind of the nature of the business. People come and go, and I don't know. He has the right to make his own decision, but obviously we all, love him very much. Like I said, he's an amazing person, amazing teammate.
Auston Johnson expressed that he wants to stay here. What's it meant?
Jesse, can I ask you a question? Mm-hmm. What is it like when two people ask a question at the same time? Like, who gets their question through? The one who just doesn't stop?
Kind of.
The loudest? Yeah.
Kind of.
Somebody moved out of the way for Pierre LeBrun, and I was like, oh, wow.
Dude, I am
and a Matthew Knies question.
I'm not built for that. I'm not built for that.
No, but like if say we're both asking a question and then I let you go, I get the next one. So it's not like if somebody else won't then step on me, it's like then it's my turn.
That was not my experience at NBA Finals Media Day. I stood there forever waiting for my turn, and Arash Madani just comes in all suave, and he goes, hey, and he gets his answer, and he leaves and goes to do whatever else, and I'm just standing there for another 5-10 minutes because I'm a meek little boy.
That type of scrum, they should have had somebody directing the questions with a mic.
They super did not.
Yeah, that's. I think that's very poor planning by the communications person. In like the Berube scrum or like the ones where they do at the podium during the playoffs, they have somebody there with a microphone and you raise your hand.
I'm glad they're finally miking them, by the way.
And it's your turn to ask a question and they hand you the mic and then you ask
they listen at them.
Yeah. They do listen because they used to not mic reporters and you just hear the answer and you'd be like, what the hell are they talking about? It used to drive me crazy. What is that? Yeah, obviously I found that question was extremely disrespectful. Anyway, and you're like, what did he say? Yeah. All right, so Austin, we talk about the injury. We talked about Marner there. Talks about a lot of things. Let's start with the injury because we were told, hey, he's healthy. He's healthy. He's clearly not. Clearly wasn't. And did have good stretches and still scored over 30 goals.
Yeah.
It sounds like it got not good in the playoffs.
Can I say something once and for all? They lie like a lot. And you need to stop being like, well, so-and-so said this and that's that. You know how stupid you sound when you do that? That drives me insane when people go, well, so-and-so said this and that is, I just believe him at face value. Can you stop? Matthews doesn't have to tell you what's wrong with him or how he's feeling. I don't expect him to. He doesn't owe us that. But when you hear someone who you're pretty sure is hurt, isn't hurt, don't take it at face value. Just stop. Stop. Please stop. Thank you.
As far as, listen, I don't have a whole lot in here about what the guys said about Mitch. I mean, there's something from Willie that we'll get to because we know what they're going to say. They love this guy. This guy's really popular.
Are you moving on from the injury?
No, but I did want to address that part. I didn't even want that in there. I kind of mislabeled it. The injury itself is interesting because he, and a lot of people pointed this out, he said that he'll be fine by training camp and it won't require surgery.
He seemed confident. I take him at face value.
Okay, so then my question becomes, why play him from January onwards?
Well,
because then why didn't you put him on LTIR? Why don't you just put him on LTIR and you're going to make the playoffs without him? They were playing great in November. You're going to make the playoffs without him. Put him on LTIR. If it takes 4 months to heal this, then why not put him on LTIR for 4 months and go playoffs like Mark Stone, like Evander Kane, like Nikita Kucherov?
You make a very interesting point that, well, okay, here's how long the offseason is. Maybe they decided.
I didn't make that point, by the way. I lifted that point from about 50 different tweets who were like, what the hell, man?
Well,
they were doing fine.
They all have a point. But, I trust the Leaf sports science department.
They are pretty good.
Yeah. So, that's why the Leafs get guys like Max Pacioretty. Okay, my career's done. Or I can sign a cheap deal with this team with an amazing sports science department, and I can squeeze blood from a stone.
Mason Raymond and Tyler Ennis, another couple of guys who extended their careers.
There's so many good. Joe Thornton.
Yeah.
Lots of guys have extended their careers by coming to Toronto. You never hear about that part. Maybe they decided, all right, it's better to get Matthews at X% in the regular season and have him in the playoffs, and have him fix whatever's ailing him in the offseason than it would be to just shut him down.
The part that also annoyed me, guys, is it happened during training camp.
I know.
And it's can we stop? Like, training camp should be like a week and a half. Should be. Yeah, like, what are we doing?
I'd still love to know what happened.
Well,
I'd still love to know what happened.
You get a sense, Jesse? Did you get any sort of sense?
No, I don't know.
So this is really well kept.
I think it's a core injury. I mean, when he was asked, does it affect your shot? And he's like, well, it affects a lot.
Well, if he said yes, then everybody's going to think it's an arm or a wrist, right?
Yeah. The speculation is that it's a wrist injury because he got hit in the hand with the puck during the playoffs, and the speculation that it kind of re-aggravated when he got hit there. And remember, he left and he was on the bench and that sort of stuff, and he's feeling his hand. But I don't know. I don't think so. A lot of people
just guessing.
A lot of people thought it'd be a back issue because when he went to Germany, that's kind of what they do.
My assumption is
and a lot of people thought it was a back thing, but it's all purely guessing. I have no idea.
I wonder if that relates to Jamie Benn almost snapping him in half a couple years ago. Do you remember that? Mm-hmm. Jamie Benn cross-checked him and basically broke him in half.
I remember him not getting punished.
Of course, you got to remember that. Let's go on to William Nylander. There's a couple of different clips. Jesse, 12:22 to 12:55, so 30 seconds. What was your takeaway from Game 7? I think that is a quote that's getting a lot of play today. I want you to hear it rather than just read it, because I think it's important to hear things, and then we can break it down.
Yeah, just game. That's about it.
What do you think about Matthew Tkachuk was in an interview yesterday? He said this team in a different market would probably do a lot better because there's so much pressure in the city. What do you think of a statement like that?
Yeah, I think that was nice of him to say. I mean, we know we have a good team. We love playing in Toronto. I mean, obviously the market's bigger here, and it is what it is, but I believe that we will be able to get there.
All right, we'll stop it there. So the first thing that's bothering people, and I think this is just a personality thing, but I understand why they're pissed, is what do you think about Game 7? Oh, it's just a shitty game. And
it's a horrible game.
I know William Nylander is a quiet guy, a little bit cool, but that's a little too cool for school for Leaf fans right now. And sometimes you do have to say it sucked and it was terrible and overdo it, because this is ultimately for an audience, and the audience is the people that buy your jerseys and your tickets. And Jesse, you might have a different opinion on this one, but for me, I was like, Willie, needed a little more from you on that quote.
What did you want to say?
Well, he had 4 straight games with no point. But can I point out something about Matthew Tkachuk?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And his little Mona Lisa smile.
I'm hoping you'll wait on that, because I want to just make it about the Game 7 part, and then I want to get to the pressure part. Is that okay? Can you hold on to that?
Yeah, sure.
I want to know what you think about that quote.
It's a piece of shit quote. It sucks. And he's going to Stockholm to play just another shitty game, I guess. Where he's heading in there with a 4-game pointless streak, and no one's happy about it. Like, William Nylander, I don't know if I was dumb enough to allow myself to say this, but like, when the Leafs were up 2-0 on Florida, after the performance he had against Ottawa and the performance he had in the first 2 games against Florida, and even he was a big part of the Leafs getting the lead in Game 3 before they fucked it. He was on track for, if this team does find a way to do the thing, he's going to win the Conn Smythe Trophy. And he disappeared. And all the attention turned to Matthews and Marner, because it's like, okay, guys, well, it's your turn, and you're expected to be better.
And it was.
Yes, but...
And they were.
It is valid that Willie was their best player and turned into a pumpkin. and Tavares turned into a pumpkin.
Yes.
And Matthews and Marner did their darndest. They showed up in Game 6. At very least, where was Willie? Where were you? It's just a shitty game. You had 4 shitty games in a row, pal. You had 4 shitty games in a row. No one wants to hear it. And this is a guy who we've gone to bat for years and years. I don't want to hear it. K there, Unk. He wasn't good enough. Hey, what's the first word in that word soup that they threw up in the video room? Team. It's a team effort.
Jesse, your thoughts on that one part of the quote, and then we'll get to the pressure part.
It's a matter of, are you willing to accept somebody as they are, or do you expect more from him at this point? Because you're never going to get that from him, and it's been 9 years of him being in this organization, and he's never given a quote like that, like what you're expecting. He's always given when they're on a 3-game losing streak, and he said, it's no big deal, it's just a couple games. And then when they're on a 3-game winning streak, it's no big deal, it's just a couple wins. And then when they lose in Game 7, it's just a shitty game. So either you're upset at him forever for who he is as a person,
right,
or you got to accept that you're never going to get that.
No.
So
and does that prevent?
I'm just accepted the fact that that's not the type of person he's ever going to be.
And what he is to us in media and fan circles is not what he is to his teammates. I wonder though, this is a guy who's been here 9 years, has a long-term deal. One of the assistant captains is leaving. Another might. Is that going to be something that prevents him from wearing a letter, or do you expect a change in behavior if he ever did? Like, is that
letters?
I don't get the sense that that's important to him.
Yeah,
but
letters are something that's so internal. I don't know if we can judge from the outside on who should have a letter or not, or what they do with their letter. So, I don't know if it matters to him or if it does. But I just think from the media side of things, he knows that he had a bad game.
Yes.
He knows. He 100% knows. He knows when he has every bad game or when he has a good game. Does he need to admit that to us? He feels like in front of the cameras, he does not.
Yep. Well, and
I'm not upset at that.
It helps that he's been consistently like that since he arrived with the Marlies.
Yes.
I'd be more upset if I didn't know this is like that. He's not putting on an act.
No.
That is fundamentally who he is. So I guess the difference with Willie is I don't expect him to say anything, right? Can I read the
Kachuk give it to me. So they ask him about, just to re-up for people, they ask him about pressure in the market, which they asked everybody.
Yeah. So Jesse Fuchs from Sportsnet tweeted something, and I forgot to include it in my video yesterday. It got no traction whatsoever. It had 1 like. I just gave it number 2. It's such a good point, though. Must be nice to have teammates who pick you up. Matthew Kachuk hasn't scored since Game 3 against Tampa. No goals in 9. Is probably hurt. Gets to avoid criticism because they won. Yeah. And then someone said, he also was a beast in 2 straight runs to the finals, including a cup win, mildly relevant context. And he says, not really. We both know if they lost and he played in a big market, he'd be getting smoked right now. I'm sure he will come up with something great in the next 2 rounds, and the drought will be a moot point. Hence my point about having great teammates.
I disagree with that. I think Matthew Kachuk has done it, and I think everybody knows he's injured. And I think if he were in this market and he had done it, we'd be like, well, he's done it, and he's in this market, and he is hurt, and we know
done it, and he's injured.
Okay. Did the Florida Panthers beat the Carolina Hurricanes in 2023, or did Matthew Kachuk?
I mean, it was technically the Panthers, but holy shit.
Right? And even last night, and we'll talk about the game later, even last night, when he's not moving, he's still one of the most effective players on the ice, as long as he's not moving. And
he's good with the puck when he's standing still.
So I think that I understand that point of view, but I also think it does hit different when someone has done it. Yeah. Once you've done it, you can talk that shit. You know what I'm saying? Now, I disagree with him about the market size. I think they're trolling, and I think everybody knows they're trolling.
Yes.
But, I think that's... And by the way, he's such an effective troll that it wasn't what... I guess Maurice kind of backed it up as well. But those guys were so good at it that it forced reporters to ask on behalf of the audience that wants to know, is playing here, is it too much? Is it too much for you?
You played him like a fiddle.
Every guy said, I like it, except for one. And we'll kind of talk about that. So, Jesse, the other one I want to talk about, or that Willie gives us, is 1337. And this is about what it was like to play with Mitch Marner. And I thought this quote actually did stand out. And you look at Willie's face when they bring him up, because to me, William Nylander, you can just tell that this guy really, they have a really good relationship.
All these years.
Yeah, it's been awesome. I mean, just an incredible guy off the ice, and the way he plays the game and sees the game every night. It's just, it's just been awesome to play with him.
How about JT?
Same thing. I mean, Johnny's been, consistent player every year. Exactly what he's bringing to the table, and he does it every night, every day of practice. Just a, true professional. Learn a lot of things from him, and I hope they both are here next year.
Just to follow up on the pressure sort of angle, what's it like to play?
Oh, the pressure. Yeah, the pressure. I mean, I guess we can listen to his point on the pressure. They're following up on it again. You can see
they made sure they weren't going to be able to bring both of them back when they signed you there, Will.
You could.
It's true.
You could sign.
It's true. It's friggin' true.
What do you mean?
I've been through this so many times. You have Marner and you have Willie in 2023. Marner's no-move clause kicks in July 1st. Willie needs a new contract. He's heading into the final year. July 1st comes, July 1st goes. So you've made peace with the fact you are not trading Mitch Marner. You need his blessing to do it. He's not going to give it to you. You know he's not giving it to you. Stop being a stupid idiot. He's not giving it to you. So what are you left with? Well, you're trading Willie.
Nope.
And Willie comes out of the gate hot. Oh, well, we can't lose this guy. And they wait until, I think it was January. They sign him to an 8-year extension. Okay. You're losing Marner for nothing. That is the beginning, middle, end. I mean, I suppose there's a scenario where you're just simply losing Tavares and you could re-sign Marner. You're going to pay Marner more than Auston Matthews? You out of your fucking mind? They had 2 lifelines. They had 2 chances to press the reset button on the core. Mm-hmm. And they blew by both of them. So the reason this is all blowing up and these guys won't be back is Shanahan. Beginning, middle, end.
Do you want to go to Mitch Marner?
Sure.
Jess, any thoughts? Did you want to add to that?
Yeah, no. What's the...
So 6:43 to 7:43, just a full minute here on Mitch's time in Toronto and how he hasn't really processed where he might want to go and what he might want to do.
Do you want to be Maple Leaf next season, Mitch?
I've always loved my time here. I've loved being here. Like I said to you guys the other night, I've been so grateful, and I haven't processed anything yet. It's still so fresh, and losing sucks.
How much of an impact do you think the pressure and the media scrutiny of fans, how much do you think the pressure from the scrutiny you guys get in this market kind of impacts your ability to win, do you think, if at all, in this market, like the scrutiny you're under?
There's pressure everywhere. There's pressure anywhere. Doesn't matter where you are. There's always pressure, and we put the most pressure on ourselves. I mean, we hold ourselves to such a high accountability. You want to win every single year, and it'd be lovely if you could. It's hard to do. I mean, like I said, we hold ourselves to such high accountability that the pressures from the outside, I don't think really bothers you too much. It's the more you put on yourself.
Mitch, you control your own future. What will go into decision from your perspective? What's important for you wherever you land next season in terms of family, money, team?
I mean, like I just said, it's so fresh that, it's tough to really think about anything right now about going forward and future-wise. It's, I was hoping to be playing a hockey game tonight, and that's not the outcome, and I haven't thought about anything, next coming weeks I'll sit down with my wife and we'll start talking and trying to figure out what the next steps are.
We can probably pause it there. So that's where I don't believe him. I don't believe that that the pressure only comes from within the room, that he's unaffected by it, because I've seen it with my eyes. And he can lie to, he doesn't have to tell us that. That's not good if he tells us that, in fact. But I know that that's not true. And you know that that's not true. That's objectively...
he's in a self-inflicted war with the camera every time he steps in front of it. And that's just the way someone's programmed.
Yeah. Well, I don't...
You can't...
Jonas Siegel wrote... Jesse, I don't know if you saw this. Steve, I don't know if you saw this. He wrote an article about how it's better if both sides part.
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
And I agree with that.
Yeah.
And I know everybody online's like, well, you're going to miss generational. Sometimes that's like Mitch is a great player. The mix doesn't work. You've already signed.
What am I going to miss? What am I going to miss?
So
Mitch does this, Mitch does that. What have they accomplished as a group?
Definitely, yeah.
Holy shit.
Yep.
It's insane you have to justify this to people. Oh my God.
What would you be without him? I don't know, man.
I don't know.
What are you
But I'm about to find out.
Maybe worse, maybe better. Anything's better than this shit.
Yeah. So,
oh my God.
So what I think here, and there is a little bit more about him leaving, and we'll get to it. What I think here is interesting is, Jonas Siegel very lightly references what we got into serious detail about, which is that 2019 negotiation. Before that, in front of the cameras, Mitch, people forget this. Bubbly and fun.
Care Bear.
Total Care Bear, beloved by the market. But, where I wish Jonas had gone a little harder, and maybe there's a reason he didn't, Mitch's team bungled that negotiation from a PR perspective. They won it. They won that negotiation hands down. They got everything they wanted.
At what cost?
Well, and this is the point. Because I don't think Toronto received that well. And I think that because of the lack of success because Toronto at the time was like, I'm glad you're signed, but now I'm going to expect you to perform.
Mm-hmm.
And the performance, I think, that he had a great, 2019 playoffs where he had 9 points in 7 games. And then, but then after that, it sort of disappeared. And there were key moments where, and I'm not talking like people talk about, 2023 had a lot of points. Most of those points happened in the first 3 games against Tampa. You got to look at the point spread.
I can't do this every year.
And I know,
can't explain
but we have to repeat it every time because there's a lot of new people coming in who haven't heard the show before.
I know.
And I caution the, I caution you on this in the sense that I feel like there's yes, you're losing a great player, but if you continue to do this and expose this player to this sort of, because there is animosity. Yes. Right? He was booed every time he touched the puck in Game 7
and the seed
in the
for
third period.
Those boos were planted 5 years ago, 6 years ago.
And that comes from, I'm sorry to say it, that's his team.
Yes.
That might not be him, but that's his team.
And none of them have taken a lick of accountability for it.
And there is a statement from Darren Ferris in that article from Jonas Siegel talking about, well, these are very personal decisions and they're very private. They sure weren't private last time.
Nope.
Mm-hmm. And so I do want to put that out there. Every time it's like, it's the media and it's the fans' fault, which I'm still pissed about.
I hope
you look at this and you go, actually, no, we didn't do any of this. We had no control on this.
I hope the team he signs with, the next best superstar on that team, their agent comes out and goes, what a stupid fucking contract.
That happened.
That's exactly what he did to Auston. That's what him and the people he pays lots of money did to Auston. Auston signed his deal February 2019, and Marner's agent did this whole press tour going, what a stupid fucking contract.
Mm-hmm. It's also worth mentioning that this is the same agent that turned down reported 8x8 for Taylor Hall and went, we're going to free agency. And when the musical chairs stopped, now, Marner's not going to be in this situation, but when the musical chairs stopped, what happened? Taylor Hall ended up with a 1-year contract worth $8 million where he scored like 3 goals with the Sabres, and then they traded him. And how many teams has he been on since? And then finally now, he signed a long-ish 3-year deal with the Carolina Hurricanes to actually stay somewhere.
What, 3.5?
Yeah. This is the same agent. Yep. And I think that's worth mentioning. This guy loves to drive for free agency. It's pretty clear. People are like, well, the Leafs were willing to offer him 8 years, $13.5 million. I believe that report. I believe that that's true. I don't think this guy cares about an 8-year deal. I think he cares about a 3 to a 5-year deal.
I don't know.
So I don't think if you think the Leafs are going to trade his rights to somebody for that 8th year, it's not going to happen.
No.
But I do feel like, hey, that war that you're talking about with the camera, that starts from that camp. And I'd love to see a little more ownership from that. We'll never see it. But that starts from them.
The amount of times these guys who know where every comma and period in my videos are, the amount of times I've screamed into the camera, can you not fucking get in the ear of your guy?
Stop sending him articles.
And it's almost every time I've been talking directly to people in his camp. And they're too dumb. They're too dumb. They won't stop.
I think Mitch Marner, like, he's made up his mind that this situation isn't good for him.
I think he's right.
He's 1,000,000% correct.
I think he's resigned to the fact that he won't be a Toronto Maple Leaf next year. He can't say it publicly, but like the question off the top of the audio you played there, like the question is, are you going to be a Leaf next year? And he says, I got to think about that. And you hear somebody who is actually wanting to be a Leaf next year, and John Tavares, and they ask him, hey, you going to be a Leaf next year? And he says, yes. And I think the life here in Toronto has been very difficult on Mitch Marner, and there's a lot of boneheaded fans who have not made it easy for him living here. And I think both sides know that it's not a comfy situation for the organization or him as a person personally. And I think he knows that he gets to move on here because they have given him that decision by walking him to free agency.
It's not a fine line between legitimate criticism and harassment and destruction of property. It's actually quite a thick one.
Yeah.
I can't believe you have to say that. But yeah, some people were way too much.
Yeah.
And by the way,
I think we should all accept the fact that the Leafs can look at this team and say, you know what, we're losing a really good player, but whatever we did the last 9 years with him wasn't enough. So even if we're worse on paper or better on paper with whoever we get, at least it's something different. So I think as fans, we should accept that.
I agree, Jess. I totally agree. The one thing I want to say is that I know when other fan groups are, they're trolling. They're like, hey, yeah, all Leaf fans are like this. Look what happened to Martin.
I don't care.
That's obviously what I don't like is when people at legitimate sports outlets who are journalists make that same argument.
Oh, they threw beer on the ice. Did all 20,000 people gather together and shot put the same beer?
Or was that one person?
Onto the fuck off.
I don't like that. And now
these people vote.
More about leaving. 8:45 to 9:10. So just a quick sort of 25-second clip here, or 35-second clip. My math sucks. And then we'll move on to a different player.
Yeah, I mean, I know I keep saying the same things, but it's tough to process at this moment. Like I keep saying, it's so fresh. It's 24 hours of our season ending. I haven't thought about anything. I haven't sat down with my wife. I haven't talked to her about future, next steps. And like I said, that will be in the next couple of weeks. We'll do that and we'll start figuring stuff out. And but I've been, like I said, forever grateful, and especially with this group.
So I want you to imagine for a second that you're married, you just had a kid, or you had a kid on the way the entire season. And you could make close to $100 million in free agency this year if you wanted to go max term or more.
Oh, hell yeah.
But whatever. You want to tell me that you've not sat down once with your wife to talk about that? Yeah, come on. I know that you're not telling the truth, and that's okay, but I know.
Yeah.
Yes, you've talked about it, and that's okay.
That's a good way of putting it. It's, hey, you're lying. It's all right, you're lying.
Yeah, I don't blame you for lying.
I don't blame you for lying. Yeah.
But the idea that he hasn't processed it yet, I can imagine he hasn't processed the game, guys. I can't imagine that he and his wife haven't talked about this at least once a week for a year and a half. Because I can tell you that's what we would that's what most people would do. Hey, what do we want to do with our future? What country do we want to live in?
A lifetime of hard work has led him to, I don't know, kind of a pretty enviable position. Like, I hammer this point all the time, but there is your having a child life, and there is your after having a child life, and you're very fresh, and you have the opportunity to start over somewhere new and make like 8 or 9 digits when you do it. God, what a blessed life! Like, that's, I don't know, you got to be happy for him or jealous. I don't know, pick a lane, I guess. But that's a lifetime of hard work that's led him to this. Would it maybe have been a happier Cinderella ending if it ended up being here where he stayed? Yeah, maybe.
If the situation was different.
I think he'll be just fine wherever he lands.
Jesse, did you get a feeling sense for him? Just, obviously the questions were, there's the pressure and then this and then that. Was he any different than he ever is in that press conference?
I don't know about different. There's always like a happy-go-lucky Mitch Marner, and then there's this kind of Mitch Marner where he's fighting the media. Fighting's not the right word.
It's business.
It's business. It's where he's not going to give anybody much. No, I feel like what you're hearing right there is how he feels about the media and the relationship right now with everything that's going on.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like he's
gone.
He's not happy about how things have ended. He can't be happy about the things going on in his personal life, dealing with the fans and all that stuff. So I don't know. I think he understands that it's coming to an end, and it sucks. Like, he grew up a Leafs fan. He's from here, played in London, which is just down the road.
Full of Leaf fans down there, too.
Gets drafted in the top 5 by his childhood team. He had a chance to be the all-time points leader for this franchise if things had just worked out and he stuck around. He could have had a statue right over there, his Legends Row with all of those statues. He could have been one of those. And I feel like that context should also go into why he had, like, Matt, if you want to pull up his picture, like the sour face that he has right now on the screen.
That's been every conference this season.
That's how he looks because of everything that's going on with this team and everything that's gone into his life to reach this point. He's obviously very blessed. Like,
yes.
Playing a hockey game that's a kid's game and you get to pay $100 million to do it is awesome. But the context of him as a hockey player and his legacy as a Leaf isn't a fun one.
No.
Because this is how it's going to end. And he wanted his jersey in the rafters so badly, and he's not going to get that.
There's a player I often think about where I'm just like, man, never meet your heroes. And that's Matt Duchene. Like, huge Colorado Avalanche fan. If you go back and look at footage of the 2009 draft, Victor Hedman goes second, and Duchene goes. He does this. He does the fist pump because he knows. Oh shit! I'm going third to Colorado. The Halliburton, Ontario boy grew up a huge Avalanche fan, and how does it end?
Yeah,
that sad picture.
That photo with his stick on his back. Get me the fuck out of here! I hate this place. Joe Sakic traded him. A dude you had him on your wall as a kid. You emulated him in the driveway. Joe Sakic, score! That guy traded you. And you asked him to do it. Then he had a couple years in the desert. He was with the Sens. And did that situation suck.
The Uber driver thing was not a good start.
The Uber driver thing. The Blue Jackets. Jesus, he found himself in an unreal position. He resurrected his career kind of in Nashville, and now he's in the Final Four with Dallas.
And they still bought him out.
Yeah.
In retrospect, they should have friggin' kept him.
Well,
they don't have any centers.
He hasn't had the greatest playoff, but like you can come back from this sort of situation is all I'm saying.
I think, like, Adam, if you want insight on just what he tells us and how he's feeling, I think the most important thing he said in the last couple weeks is when they lost and had to deal with the loss, he said, I'm going to go home to my baby and my dog, and I'm going to spend time with them because they don't know what's going on in the world.
Yeah.
And
his baby who he's barely met. Like, what an opportunity. It's so fun.
Him going to spend time with them to get away from the entire world and what's going on, I think is a person who's now an adult man who is realizing that at the end of the day, I know I dreamt about being a Leaf as a kid, but now I'm a grown-ass person, and I can see how everything played out, and my family's kind of what matters here. And it's not the jersey I'm wearing because I can play hockey other places and I can get that other places.
No.
He had this dream, and it's failing, and now he's like, I'm going to go be with something that is actually important to me right now, and that's my child and my wife and my dog.
Oh, man. There is something to be said about having a shitty day and coming home to someone who does not care.
He thought that the Leafs thing could have held him up like a kid could, and he would have that jersey on and be everything that he thought he could be. And he's grown up, and it didn't play out that way, but he still got his family.
I mean, there's a mourning period to that. I quit my job at Sportsnet, and like it's not all that subtle that there are some hard feelings there. I mourned that for a long time, though. And it was my decision to leave. But, you have a goal in mind, and you sometimes mourn the fact that that's not your goal anymore.
I felt that same way about Virgin Radio. I wanted to be a nationally syndicated morning show host for years.
And you didn't want
it
anymore.
And then I didn't want it anymore. That's all on me. Now, let's move on to Morgan Rielly. Because Morgan Rielly is... so, Jesse, go to 1735, and then we'll stop at 1855. And I think, obviously, they ask him about, would you consider change? And then they ask him about Game 7. So there's a couple of bits in here that I want to break down. But Morgan Rielly has been here forever. He's been here forever. He's seen all of the Game 7 losses.
A lot of losing.
Been here before Brendan Shanahan.
And yes, and the last man.
I think the only guy, him and Cliff Fletcher.
Brian Burke drafted this man.
Damn.
Like, that's crazy.
That's a pretty good draft.
And I want to say, this guy has been the ultimate citizen, the ultimate soldier, has gone along with what every coach wanted. Like, the only guy Mike Babcock shouted out when he left was Morgan Rielly. And so people love this guy, but we are getting to the point where questions need to be asked about this. And we can talk about that after this, but let's have a listen to this clip, 1735.
Will you be ready to switch teams?
That's not what I'm thinking about right now.
What did yesterday look like for you, Morgan? Like, do you guys get together and talk about the season? Do you just kind of go be with your own family? Like, what happens on a day like that?
I think it's probably different for everyone. For me, I spent the day kind of just reflecting on my own about the game, the playoffs, the season, and all of it. And then you come together today and you kind of discuss things, and then we'll revisit all that as a group on a day like today.
But in reflecting yesterday, did you come to any even soft conclusions about what went wrong in Game 7?
I don't have any kind of hard answer for you. I think what it comes down to is there was a period of the game where I think we lost our structure a little bit, and then you spend the rest of the game trying to get back. And so, the difference between our best and our worst, I think, was too much. And that can, in those important games, that can be the difference.
Does the pressure and scrutiny you guys face in this market make it harder to win in your mind? No. Why not?
That's just my opinion.
Okay.
Morgan, for you, what's it been like to play with Mitch all these years?
I've enjoyed it. He's a world-class hockey player, and he's become a friend, obviously, and it's been a joy to watch him play hockey.
Let's pause it there.
What's it like to play?
So you get a sense of Morgan Rielly there, where he's at. I think this is a guy who, underratedly, his time, I think, with the Leafs should probably end here. And they may not be able to.
It's not up to the Leafs.
It's not up to the Leafs.
And listen, I'll be honest. My bias here is I hated that contract from day one. I thought it was too expensive. And I thought that the Leafs were putting too much on this guy. And I thought that spending that much on this guy stopped them from spending elsewhere. And remember...
Pens fans, Dubas can do a lot of really good things.
Doesn't understand defense or goaltending. Doesn't understand.
He'll accumulate draft picks. I think he can help you score. He has no clue how to build a decor.
None.
Well,
I think Pens fans know that.
Oh my God! No. I don't think they
Graves
do yet.
and Carlson, that you don't think they get it yet?
No. This is like we're rebuilding. I promise you. When the Penguins go up and they get good again, their decor will still be shit. And I guarantee it.
The philosophy of this, and I was reminded of this with Craig Button. We've referenced it a little bit, but Craig had a really great hit on the TSN YouTube. And he was talking about that when Dubas and Shanny and Lou and all those guys came in, the point was, and we were all excited about this, they sold us on, we're going to reinvent how hockey's played. It's going to be it's essentially what the Oilers became, which is all offense, right?
Yeah.
And they said, we are going to do, I think Button said they're going to do pirouettes in the playoffs and they're going to score goals and win championships. And the reality that hit them year after year after year, and this is where Shanny became less and less effective as an executive, is the evidence showed that that's not going to work. And they went, you know what? We'll do more of it.
We're going to double down.
And then they put Morgan Rielly in this position where he's the only good defenseman on the team.
Yep.
Year after year after year, he's in a negotiating position where he can make $7.5 million and get a no movement clause. If you go on Puckpedia, that's an anchor. It's a no movement. And he's got 3 more years of it.
Very funny symbol that they use.
And you got to go out and get a guy like Shen or Carlo so that Morgan Rielly can play his game
every year.
And now, thankfully, they got Carlo for another year.
Yeah.
But I feel like
2, I think.
Within Berube, he has Lawton's that expires after a year, right?
Yeah.
With Berube, I don't think that this is a fit. Like, I think it's pretty clear this isn't a fit.
And like, if I could have a redo about talking about the game on our Monday show,
sure,
I would have went harder at Morgan Rielly.
That's a terrible pinch.
Because
it starts with him.
It's not even that pinch alone. It's a million different instances in that game on Sunday. I think he had the worst game of his career, given the context of what was happening.
Yeah,
that far into his career on Game 7, second round, to have the worst day of your life is, for me, it like. Watching it again, like, it's unforgivable how bad he was, and I don't think he fits this style of play that Berube wants him to play, and the money that he's being paid doesn't fit his role on this team right now.
And the Leafs legitimately thought in years past, with the defense stacked with names like Rielly, and then you have who's good, and then you get names like, oh, we're going to do this with Liljegren and Dermott
and Hall,
and like. Up until this season.
Remember when Dermott and Hall were a pair? The dermatologist? Remember that?
Right.
It never caught on. I wanted it
now,
to.
I do feel like screaming about Morgan Rielly not being on this team might be yelling at a brick wall because he controls his fate.
Yes.
And that's so, like, I don't know how much time should be spent over the course of the entirety of this contract on, like, hey, should he be on this team?
To me, though, I have to say, it should be priority 1. They have to move on from this guy because they, year after year after year, have to find ways to go, well, if we do this, then Morgan can be successful.
So the only way you're going to do that is if you make it difficult for his life.
I don't know that they're willing to do that.
You threaten to send him down to the minors if he doesn't.
Well, he can't. No movement.
No movement.
No, like, do it. You put him on waivers. Like, whatever you want to do, your little tricks that you can force somebody and actually make their real life difficult, you could do that.
You lose Marner and Rielly for nothing.
You don't.
And Tavares.
I don't think you do that to Morgan Rielly.
No.
So I don't know how you move the deal.
I think you say to him, Morgan, you've been a great soldier here. We don't want you on the team anymore. And I think, okay, honestly, if somebody said that to you, would you be like, yeah, I might be open to moving now?
I
don't know.
I'm sure Vancouver would love to have a look at him.
I'm sure the Leafs aren't the first group of geniuses to ever try that tactic and have it fail. The Rangers did that shit to Trouba, and Trouba went, that's nice.
Yeah.
I told you I'm not doing that. Now, he eventually relented, but it cost them a season.
So if Auston Matthews disagrees with that approach and he says, like, I want Rielly here and you're threatening to trade him or whatever, are you potentially making the entire locker room upset if you're doing stuff?
You're going to have the Rangers.
Potentially you are.
Exactly.
But I also think you need to say to Auston, listen, we run the team, you play on it.
Yeah, and you, at the end of the day, management cannot big dog their way to a good on-ice product. The Rangers tried that, and they stunk.
The Tiger
like, all right, brrr, and then they still were asked.
Drury just got an extension.
Oh, my God. That's a fascinating team.
Maybe they rebound next year. Maybe they did beat Big Dog themselves back to a President's Trophy.
They better thank their lucky stars the Knicks are good. And now no one cares. Like, no one cares about the Rangers right now. It's wherever they're picking, whatever the trades are, la, 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 we're going to burn the city down for a couple of weeks while we hopefully get to the NBA
How much
final.
time is left on the contract? Do you have
it's 3 more years after this one. So it's
3 more years at 7.5.
Yeah, so I'll pull it up.
I do want to point out, someone pointed this out the other day, I think it was Kevin Papetti. Max Domi has partial trade protection. David Kampf has partial trade protection. Calle Jarnkrok has partial trade protection. That's crazy.
What are they, like 10, 15 teams?
Still. Holy
you
shit.
can move those guys.
I know you can, but my God.
There's going to be lots of people looking for, especially with the salary cap eclipsing $100 million. If you can get a fourth line center for $2.5 million, like Kampf is on his last year of his deal, I mean, I don't even understand why people are upset that they had. Somebody said, "Oh well, they had $6 million sitting in the press box." I'm like, yeah, they had depth in the press box. That's $6 million over 5 players. Who cares, man? Like that. You need it. You need to be able to listen. Is it valuable depth in Reeves and Kampf and whatever? It's not helpful if you need depth scoring.
The one very annoying and exhausting narrative with the Leafs is if they just spend their money perfectly, they'll be fine. And that's not how pro sports work.
Yep.
That's over with this offseason.
Yeah. If they simply spend it completely perfectly, down to the dollar, perfect efficiency.
But
guys, what are we doing?
I don't think we have to think like that anymore.
No,
I don't think so either. I think you're right. Now, we'll move on to Matthew Knies. Now, there were people online who were really pissed about how Matthew Knies was questioned because it was all about the offer sheets. And I think people are like, in no other market are they asking this question. That's probably true. Guess where you're at?
It is absolutely not true.
But let me
that
say
is
this.
fictional nonsense. Can everyone stop? Oh my God.
What do you mean?
That no one else is getting asked about an offer sheet in any other market? Is everyone okay?
Well, it might just be that they don't watch other people's end of season.
Also, that's
yes, thank you.
It's also not true. He was asked one question.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah, but you said the people online are upset because all the questions were about the offer sheet.
But because that's all that reached them because that was the only interesting
so
part
I'm trying
of the interview.
to tell people like it wasn't all the questions.
Right.
It was one question.
And I haven't had the chance to, again, Steve jumped in and then I didn't get the chance to sort of expound on my point, but I was not accusing anybody of that, just so we're clear. But it is the most interesting part of the interview. And we'll start it at 29 minutes, Jesse, and we'll go to about 90 seconds later, so 30-25. Because
in a Canadian market.
Here we go.
I know it's kind of in a magnifying glass, and you get picked apart a little bit, but that's just, people care. People love hockey here. I love playing in this city. I think it's a blast. I just love to see how much everyone cares and really wants this place to win.
How do you view your pending free agency?
I mean, I want to be here. I want to play here. That's all that really matters to me.
A lot of people talked about the possibility of an offer sheet in your case. A lot of people throwing that rumor out there. But for that to happen, the player has to be complicit in that scenario. Could you see a possibility of you needing an offer sheet to get to where you need to contract-wise?
I mean, just the way I answered the last question, I want to be here. I want to play here. That's all that matters to me.
Are you hoping it'll be long-term versus short, or?
I mean, that's honestly we ended 2 days ago. I haven't really thought about that. We'll see what it comes down to. I honestly don't have a good answer for you.
All right, let's get one.
I hope he never loses.
So Pierre LeBrun there, who said the words offer sheet, that was the only time it was mentioned in the whole scrum.
And I think
the other ones were about his contract, which is expiring, which everybody who had a contract expiring was asked about. Max Pacioretty was. They asked Chris Tanev about his brother's contract expiring. They said, hey, so Brandon Tanev's contract's expiring. What do you think about that? Mitch Marner was asked about it 3 times. The only time the words offer sheet were spoken
is for the guy who can be offer sheet.
The guy who could be offer sheet. There's one question, but the other questions about your contract expiring are the typical question.
Now, I think only in Toronto would they ask about someone's brother's contract situation. If you completely ignore that Vancouver exists, only in Toronto,
or Luke and Braden Shen,
yeah.
So
very silly.
So I thought that was silly too, but I think it's worth acknowledging that it exists and then saying, hey, that's wrong. But also, I don't have a problem with people asking about his RFA. And you know what I loved about it? It gave him the opportunity to answer the question the way that he did. And when I saw that answer, he's like, I love playing here. And the only thing he really couldn't answer is whether it was going to be long-term or short, because both sides have gone through both options, right?
And he doesn't know that yet.
He also doesn't know the answer.
The negotiations aren't done.
Yeah.
This all reminds me of something, though. Remember when the Florida Panthers were getting carved for firing Gerard Gallant? And it's what were the Panthers thinking? And no one asked the Panthers, so we did. We're like, hey, Panthers minority owner Doug Sifu, can you come on the podcast?
Currently suspended.
And then he did.
Oh, yeah.
And then we lost touch. And years later, I was like, I wonder what Doug Sifu's up to. And the answer was losing his mind, apparently. Did anyone bother to look if offer sheet even sort of makes sense for this person? I don't think they did.
What is the neighborhood?
So 2.34 to 4.68 is a second round pick. Well, the Leafs match that. 4.68 to 7.02 is a first and a third round pick. I think the Leafs match that. 7.02 to 9.36 is a first, second, and third round pick. Am I weird saying I still think the Leafs match that? But also, if you give Knies 9.36, you're out of your frigging mind.
Well, what's the bottom end of that?
The bottom end of that is 7.
Yeah, because
you could offer him $7,021,000.
I'm sure the Leafs would take that gladly if on an 8-year deal.
Yeah.
Well,
sorry, you mean the high end of that is 9.36.
Matthew Knies wouldn't accept that.
Yeah.
Like if somebody's like, hey, here's $7 million, accept our offer sheet. He's like, no.
No, and then beyond that, you're talking 9.36 to 11.7, which it's simply
Isn't
not
that two
going to
firsts and
happen.
a second and a third?
That is 2 firsts, a second, and a third, and then over 11.7 is 4 first-round picks.
Yeah, I don't think there's an offer sheet in there that Matthew Knies is going to accept or a team is going to offer.
That he is going to accept, that a team is going to offer, and the Leafs are not going to match. Like everyone, I think, take a breath with Matthew Knies. It's not happening.
I never understood that narrative.
It's not happening.
I also think
this is not the Oilers with Holloway and Broberg. This is very different.
Yeah, because that also happened in August.
That too.
People forget that. That didn't happen July 1st. It happened in August.
And it was 2 of them. And they had no cap space.
And they were switching general managers.
Yes.
There was a whole bunch of events that conspired. Listen, I like offer sheets, and I think there should be more of them. I just don't see a scenario where I'm worried about it. And I want to get back to this. I loved his answer. And what I saw when I saw that was that guy sounds like a future captain to me.
Sure.
That guy sounds like a long-term Toronto Maple Leaf.
If he wore a
love
letter
playing here
next season, I wouldn't be shocked.
I want to be here. I want to be. I love these guys. I love this city. I love the fans. Blah blah blah. Like he answered that. I think that's the best answer we've heard so far.
He was very mature, very grown-up answers.
I don't know, man. I just thought that question. I think where people got mad at the question is probably because it came from Pierre LeBrun, because they're still mad about the Sam Bennett tweet.
Who got mad at it? You know what I mean?
Fans. I think it's worth acknowledging.
Yeah.
What are we doing this show for?
I mean, everyone gets mad at everything.
Yeah, but I don't know. The people yelling on Twitter, I don't think is like a core of the fan base.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. It's probably just part of it.
I don't think like the fans listening to this are just people on Twitter being mad. Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
Partially they are. Let's go to Max Pacioretty at 43:13, and this answer is about a minute and a half. So go to stop it, Jesse, at 44:30. So 43:13.
You gotta tell me when to stop because
I can't see the time on the screen.
Yeah, neither can I.
Oh, that's
you gotta
a
tell me when the words stop.
All right. Well, then next time I'll make note of that.
You
All right.
tell me when to stop.
All right. Here you go.
Compare the pressure here to some of the other markets you've been in.
Yeah, I
actually
love
pause it for a second. Pause it for a second. Sorry, I didn't set that up properly. On playing in pressure-packed markets, because everybody was asked this question. Max gave the most thoughtful answer, probably because he's the least to lose. Remember, this guy was the captain of the Montreal Canadiens, a city where they quite literally follow you around while you're buying your groceries. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's a privilege to play under pressure, and you probably don't realize that. When you're in it or when you're younger, but it's a privilege to have this many people care about how we do, and I certainly never felt this way early on in my career, but it kind of builds winners and turns you into men and helps you achieve who you're ultimately trying to become. So I know that I'm not in the spotlight here and wasn't this year by any means. So it's a bit of cherry picking for me to answer it this way. However, I have been there before, and it makes me realize that I don't have regrets with how I've handled it in the past, but I do know that that adversity and going through that amount of pressure kind of
built me into the player that I am today, and I'm thankful for it.
All right, pause it there. That to me is the best damn answer. And he had the best damn playoff, and he's probably not going to be back. And it's not because the Leafs don't like him. Well, he said it was really hard, Jesse, on his family.
Being away from his kids, yeah.
Yeah, because they live in Michigan.
Oh, well,
so maybe he's a Red Wing next year.
Oh, no! No!
But I really... I know he only got 37 games in the regular season. I liked him when I saw him in the regular season. I loved him in the playoffs.
Oh, he's so good.
And so, there's a guy that has, he's at the tail end. And these guys that, have people around them that are complaining about the media pressure and the fan pressure, I hope they listen to that.
They had Jason Spezza. They had Joe Thornton. They had Patrick Marleau. They had Max Pacioretty. They had Wayne Simmons. They had these guys.
Ron Hainsey.
They had all these guys to tell them that this thing ends. They had Brad Marchand 2 nights ago tell them that this thing ends, and it ends quick. Your career flies by. These moments don't come often. You have to seize opportunities when they come along, and they've had a million old guys tell them that fact, and continually they don't show up in the big games.
They also had them lay off. We're in first place.
So
not a great quote.
You just don't. You don't have it.
It doesn't help.
You don't have it. We've known they haven't had it. That's, I think, what led to the reaction this year. Everyone is so fed up. So fed up. And I think there's some anger at ourselves. Damn it, we believed.
Wow.
Oh, it feels like you've
I'm
had
mad
the rug
at myself.
pulled.
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Everyone in my life is like, Steve.
You idiot.
You idiot. You're the one who talks about all their flaws all the time. And I'm like, well, maybe this year's different. And they lost exactly the way we thought they
Did you drop your clown nose when you're walking to the studio?
Yeah, I had to get a new one. I really did.
Was your Go Train car painted with polka dots?
It should have been. And it should have been extra small and packed with people. With giant shoes. I started to dream the silliest things. They're up 2-0. They're up 3-1 in game 3. And I'm like, they're really about to do this shit. And at the time,
they were not.
I'm like, I started to wander. I should have never let myself wander. But I looked at the other Eastern Conference series and I went, Washington, Carolina? Oh, boy! And now look at us.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, Match Pacioretty telling them, hey, this thing ends. My career's ending. You guys better win. Didn't help.
Anthony Stolarz at 57-57. We're going to go for about a minute and a half here. Talks about the head injury. And by the way, the head injury plays into last night's playoff game too, which I think is going to be fun. We'll talk about that Carolina thing. But, there was a lot of talk online about, was it the slap shot to the head or was it the punch to the head? Which one was it?
I don't know.
And here's what Anthony Stolarz has to say about it.
What was your perspective on what happened in game 1 and the challenge of getting over that?
Yeah, it was obviously extremely frustrating. Just not being able to be out there with the guys. You want to at least be on the bench and be around the guys. And it was just an unfortunate incident that just caught me in a bad spot, and just had to go through the steps to get healthy.
Did you have a concussion? Did you have a concussion?
Yeah, I did.
Was it sort of think the puck you took off the face also?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I've taken a lot of pucks off my helmet in my career, and I felt fine. I mean, the way I felt after that, I mean, I think, it was probably another 45 minutes. I didn't feel anything, and then kind of after that incident is when I started feeling the symptoms.
You know Sam Bennett as well as anybody. Was it one of those accidentally on purpose? Like he had a chance to do something to you?
No, I don't think there was any malicious intent on his part. I mean, like you said, not just Benny, but that entire team, they play hard. And, I think it was just one of those things that, it's the playoffs and he's in the moment and he wants to score a goal for his team, and I'm doing my best to, try to keep the puck out of the net. And it was, like I said, it was just one of those things where he just caught me in a bad spot.
What was your conversation like with him, with Sam?
Yeah, he was, he obviously felt pretty bad. And, I just told him it was one of those things, it's a very fast game and, can happen. So, I told him basically just good luck, and I'm doing a lot better now, doing fine. Obviously, I was able to dress in Game 7, so just go from there now.
Okay, we'll leave it there. So he defended Sam there.
Man, do I not even sort of care that Bennett didn't mean to do it. Oh my God, I wish I could turn that into paper and just take it to the bathroom. I really don't even sort of give the tiniest iota of a fuck that Sam Oopsie Daisy Bennett, head trauma follows him around like a fart. What are we doing? I don't expect Stolarz to get out there and bury a guy that he won a cup with. I don't expect that. But, with the Leafs, we've said many times in recent days, if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, it might be a duck. Mm-hmm. If it walks like a perpetual source of head trauma and talks like a perpetual source of head trauma, he's a dirty player who concusses people. And it was just really interesting to see people suddenly care about goalies getting bumped last night.
I thought the goalies need to be protected comment from Freege. I thought that was interesting.
Now, people got all over Freege.
I'm not over Freege for that. I'm just glad that they're finally saying it on the show again.
Freege said that when Stolarz got hit.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
He said that when Stolarz got hit, and people shit on him for it.
Sorry,
Elliot Friedman.
I just hope you know I'm not shitting on Freege.
No, I know. I'm pre-arguing, I guess.
I just think it's nice for everybody else to acknowledge it.
Freege has been consistent. I know there was a sense out there, now the media cares that, and listen, there's plenty of those out there, but Freege was not one of them. He said this is a bad outcome, and he was right. He said that at the time about Stolarz and Bennett. He's been consistent.
I like the confirmation that it was not the puck that he took on the mask, because goalies take a lot of pucks to the mask, and he can know when it hurts extra bad.
No, one person online who has credentials for sure, not media credentials, like medical credentials.
Oh.
He had the opinion that I wanted to have. So that is I'm going to make that my whole personality now. It wasn't Bennett who plays for my favorite team.
Right.
It was the puck that injured the goalie. Dumbass. Just so embarrassing. It was the head trauma from the player who gave him head trauma.
Who's given multiple players on this team head trauma.
You absolute balloon.
Go look what Bennett did to Knies in 2023. Knocked him out of the series.
That was another accident.
And I know Anthony Stolarz isn't a doctor, but he has Leafs doctors, and I'm sure that's who explained it to him, how he got the concussion.
If he says I felt fine for 45 minutes, I believe him.
Yeah, I don't think it's him diagnosing himself where he got the concussion. I'm sure he knows how he felt in the moment, and then they confirmed that with the doctors, and now he is giving that to the media. And the fact that he said it was a concussion means that he got the approval, the thumbs up to say that publicly, because else he would have kept that to himself, like the other players did about their injuries. So I think we can all confirm what happened
I also feel like the Leafs probably want that out there.
Yes, and it's that Sam Bennett hit him in the head and he was out of the series.
Do you think if they had less fan pressure, it wouldn't have been a concussion?
Berube, I'm just going to sum up what some of the comments that kind of stuck out. Jesse tweeted some of these. So we all look at Game 7, nobody is happy, but we did a lot of good things this year I'm very proud of. I think he's right. He talked about the buy-in from the team and totally changing up how they play, and they did. You look at Game 1 versus Montembeault, 42 shots to 47, how they played later on in the season, much different. Berube said the pressure comes from inside the locker room. That's it. I don't know if that's totally true. I think there's pressure from the fans.
Yeah.
But
it's a factor.
When he's saying that, he's saying there's nothing the fans can do. We all want to win.
Yeah.
And we want to win in that locker room. We want to win for the guys there. And the fans telling us to win is we know. We want to win as badly as you guys.
Jesse, you were in the building when Max Domi scored to make it 3-1. They lost their minds.
Yes.
And how are they rewarded? They allowed a goal 45 seconds later. You suck.
Which, by the way, is so Leafs.
It's 47?
Yeah. That's so very Leafs, by the way, 45 seconds later to allow a goal. That's very that era.
But not until they had to scrape the ice there, the popcorn.
Death by popcorn.
Death by popcorn.
And the last one here, we won our division, 108 points. We changed our style. Overall, I think we accomplished a lot. And I don't think he's wrong. And I know we don't want to hear that. I think he did a great job this year. And it's his job to be like, okay, listen, you probably don't want to hear this, but I don't care. I'm the coach, and I tell people stuff that they don't want to hear all the time. And the reality is they changed their style. It's far more of a playoff style. They got further than they did last year. They got further than they ever have. I know it's only a couple extra games, but they truly could have won this series.
There is
and there was no
difference.
shot in 23 they were going to win that series.
No, there is a difference between getting your ass kicked in 5 and this.
Well, I mean, they scored 10 goals in 2023 in 5 games.
Yeah.
They didn't just get their ass kicked. They were not a factor. That's why when we talk about that 2023 run, it's like, hey, they had all this goodwill of winning the first round, and it just dissipated because you couldn't have any goodwill based on how they played the second round. So we're really not that much closer. This year, I do feel like, hey, strides were made. Some of the same problems exist. And guess what? One of them is walking out the door in free agency. And so you're going to have to make changes anyway.
And when Berube's talking about the good things that they did that season, he runs the checklist. He's talking about himself as a head coach in the first year in Toronto.
Yes.
And I think when he's talking from his perspective of the team, he did a pretty good job in what he wanted to accomplish with this team. He got them playing the right way and the way he wanted them to play. He doesn't have control of the roster's decisions. When somebody tried to ask him about like the pieces that are coming back next year or anything, he just refused to answer. He's like, that's not my job. I don't do that. Yep. I get the team to play a certain way. And I think he did the best he could with the cards he was dealt, and I think he did a fantastic job in getting the team to a place that I was very happy with this team throughout the entire regular season, how they were playing. That's why we had the clown noses on and the hair, and they were driving the clown cars, is because they looked good.
Man, we should be talking about the game they played last night.
Yep. Yep.
The game they played in game 6.
Yeah.
Is how they should have played in game 7. And that game there, you know that they have it in them. And that game 7 doesn't really fall on the coaching staff. It's the guys on the ice not executing. And he came out the top of the press conference talking about game 7, and it's the structure. He knew how they needed to play to win the game, and the guys didn't execute their structure.
Yeah.
That's not on him.
No.
That's when somebody gives you instructions and you don't do it, it's not on the person who gives you the instructions.
This is what we said about
what you should be doing.
This is what we said about Keefe last year. Like, there were so many plays where I'm like, Sheldon told you to do that?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I don't think he did.
I don't think any coach in the NHL will tell you to do a spinorama backhand in your own defensive zone.
Yeah, Sheldon was like, hey, Trav.
No.
Hey,
you know
Trav, who else?
No, Mitch. Like, Berube didn't go up to Mitch Marner and say, hey, you know how we're going to break out of our D zone? You're going to get to, like, maybe center ice, do a spinorama, throw it blind to the middle of the ice. Austin's not going to be able to get it because the pass is coming weird. It's going to go the other end.
And don't worry about skating
and
back.
then you're not going to back check. He told you to do that?
Yeah.
When I got all over him,
that's not the coach.
People kept sending me the Patrick Ewing clip of him as a coach. You practiced that shot?
Yeah.
I've never seen you take that shot.
That's
a good pull.
It is such a good pull. You practiced that shot?
These guys are at the highest level of the sport. They're the best athletes at what they do.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't need coaching in some of these areas. Yeah. They just need to do the right thing.
Yeah, they need formulas.
So, Morgan, what you're going to do here is instead of backing up, you're going to risk our whole season on one poke check.
Yeah.
Like,
and yo, you look at that. You're that we talked about it on the last show, and it got buried in all the other shit.
Yeah.
I could not believe he tried to make that pinch, but then
Yeah.
I realized, yes,
Worst
I
game of his
can.
life.
Yes, I can. And I
it
think
got buried because they lost 6-1.
There's so
and
many
that was
other
the
games.
first one.
Yeah.
I mean, other goals, yeah.
Yeah, like, but
There were other goals that were worse.
It
but-
is where it all started to fall apart.
So Morgan Riley said something that we didn't mention in this, and he said, I think the gap between our worst and our best was not close enough.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was a really prescient thing to say. That's smart. Mm-hmm. I also want to say that I think that there is part of their DNA that's just their DNA. It goes back to this Craig Button hit. I'm telling you to watch. It's really good. Where he talks about the Leafs were going to reinvent the way hockey was played. And one of the things that we've been talking about that's driven us crazy for years is the amount of time it takes them to get set up. Never lose possession. Don't lose possession. Back pass, back pass, back pass. Remember how they used to try to get into the zone up until Berube got here? Let's back pass the shit out of it. What do teams do? They line up 5 guys on the blue line and go, try it. Try to back pass through this. Good luck.
I started to get so invested in the puck battles. Like, they became mini games to me. Mm-hmm. Instead of watching the Leafs screw up a breakout every time or an entry every time. Yeah, Berube hockey can be boring if you don't know what to look for. But, like, it's the same thing every time, but you don't know how that 50-50 puck battle is going to go.
Yeah, and they lost every single one of them in Game 7.
Yes. And but the thing is that original DNA is still there.
Yeah.
When they were kids, that's what they were told
it's
to
only
do.
with the 4 guys.
Yes.
Like the rest of them.
Well, I would say 5. I put Riley in there.
Sorry, yes, Riley. Sorry, I should be saying 5. It's really the core 5. Like we always say, core 4. It's core 5. The rest of them aren't there. Like the guys who played that hockey they're gone with Dubas.
Yeah,
that's why the change needs to come from those 5 guys.
By the way, Tanev's wearing an A next year so hard.
Yeah, he's awesome.
He's wearing an A.
I think I don't mind getting called an idiot for certain takes, but I do think everyone who called me one 2 years ago owes me an apology.
For which take?
I do, for fucking, you're talking about the DNA of the team.
They taught them to be this way.
And the time to blow it up was staring you in the face and you spat. Like it's
Montreal or Columbus?
Well, I'm talking about 2023.
Oh,
as a drop dead date.
What about the other pit stops when you're driving down the highway and you're like, oh, there's a place I can go to the washroom.
Yeah.
I can go to that McDonald's. I can pee there. Oh, there's an en route. I can pee there, and you just keep driving. Like which stop are you talking about, Steve?
Like,
come on.
They don't take a piss in 2021. They don't take a piss in 2022. They don't take a piss in 22. And now here they are. They've arrived at their destination.
They wet
covered in piss. And you're like, bro, did you piss your pants? And they're like, whoa.
Hold on a second.
What's all this pressure?
Man,
about
the
asking
noise.
me to not piss my pants. Like, when I was your age, peeing your pants was the coolest. Fucking Billy
I'm just
Madison.
gonna get my car detailed.
Like,
and
Yeah,
my seat salt.
maybe don't tune out the noise so much.
Why did the media piss my pants?
Like, geez.
You should have pulled off the road years ago.
Yeah.
Why did the media
piss my pants?
It's literally the Eric Andre shoots the guy that goes, why did you do this to me?
Why did Mark Masters do this? It's because you didn't pull off the road to take a piss at least 4 years ago, you absolute pumpkin.
I still think Montreal was the time.
I
right?
agree.
And then people going, you know what? They took the defending cup champions to 7.
This, you mean now?
Yes. Yeah. I've read that multiple. That happened in 2022. You maniac! Ah!
I want to say something else.
The store is open, by the way. Like it's just operational.
I want to say something else. The idea that that they're going to lose by not I'm so frustrated, and I'm trying to hold it together.
Yeah. At some point we should do game 1.
Whatever. No, we'll get to it. It was actually a great game.
There's other games.
The backtracking on the Marner stuff is people preparing themselves to go nana boo boo. Look at him. He's doing well in the playoffs. He just couldn't do it in Toronto because it's the fans and the media. We're setting up for that for 12 months from now. I just hope you're all ready. I'm calling it now. When Mitch Marner goes somewhere else and finds success, which I think he will.
Yeah. And
I wish him well with that. I implore you, I ask you, I beg you to try to, is it that would you rather lose like this? Or would you rather lose trying something else? I would rather lose trying something else.
Yeah.
We really could have.
That's how I
should be home right now. We should have just put together a bunch of clips from the last 3-4 years and thrown it up. Adam, we've said that for 3 or 4 years, and everyone went, no. Fuck.
I mean, you can have numbers tell you anything. It's your interpretation. And you know what's amazing to me? And we'll transition to the game with this. So the Leafs...
Hot air balloons?
So the Panthers absolutely wiped the floor with the Carolina Hurricanes last night.
Yes, it made me very sad.
And a lot of people had that reaction, Steve. And they said, well, it should be the Leafs in there kicking their ass. See? The Leafs are actually better. It's just that the Metro Division sucks and the Leafs can't get... Hi. The goal is not to lose in Game 7 of the second round. The goal is to win the Cup. So... whether you're in the division you're in, you're playing the teams you're playing, if you're not beating them, you have to change.
You win or you don't. There are no marks.
I don't care what the Leafs might have done against Carolina. I don't care.
What do you
doesn't
think?
matter.
There's a
You know why?
bronze medal game? Like,
this is the thing.
Guys.
People are like, but, we would have kicked Carolina's ass, so maybe we're allowed. I don't want to be just better than Carolina.
They probably would have beat Winnipeg 2021.
Everybody. And the point is that they have not been willing to make the decisions necessary to be better than everybody. And you know who was? Bill Zito won the President's Trophy, then fired his coach and traded his arguably best player that year.
He took a player
along with one of his best defensemen for Matt Tkachuk. And what happened?
Didn't he set the single season record for points in a season by a left winger?
Assists in a season. 72 assists.
In
one season.
And he sent him packing with the sweetener.
With Weegar, who's great.
Yes. One of his best defensemen, his best winger, for one guy, won the cup.
Went to the finals the first year too. This could be their third finals in a row. This is the point, guys. Like, what could happen if what will happen if we lose Jake Gardiner? What will happen if we lose Mitch Marner? What happens if you lose Jonathan Huberdeau and Mackenzie Weegar? We all sang Brad Treliving's praises for getting that kind of return. What happened? Bill Zito was willing to say, you know what? I might get fired for this, but I think we should try. They also made some really smart moves, picking up guys like Gus Forsling on waivers. They got Luosterainen for Trocheck. Carolina gave them Luosterainen. Carolina gave that to them.
Wait, he was originally a Hurricane?
Luosterainen, yeah.
Oh my God.
Dude, I'm looking at this and I'm going like, hey,
no.
Here's a team.
Oh my God.
I'm gonna back that up because now I feel like now I'm insecure.
What?
Yeah, Carolina Hurricane. Played 8 games for them. I never trust my own memory. When you guys question it, I'm like, shit, I better check that. And I was right.
With the Huberdeau trade, like that playoff run, do you remember who they lost?
Who did they lose to? I don't remember.
The Lightning.
They had 122 points. They beat the Capitals in the first round. And they get to the second round, they got swept by the Lightning.
Swept.
What happened the year before?
I don't know.
The year before the President's Trophy?
The year before they lost to the Lightning in 2022.
Did they miss the playoffs?
They lost to the Lightning.
In
6 games in the first round.
Hey, but that's the Stanley Cup champion. They took them to 6 games. Jesse.
The Lightning.
Yes.
The Lightning.
And the Panthers didn't look at those 2 series and say, we lost to the Stanley Cup champions in that season. And the next season, we lost to the team that's been to 3 straight Stanley Cup champions. No, they looked at their team and they said, we need to change everything.
What the Lightning did to the Panthers, they snapped. And they had line brawls in the preseason after that shit. The Panthers changed their attitude to, I don't give a shit what color jersey you wear. When we leave this building tonight, we're both wearing red. And look where they are. By the way, let's talk about, there was a big balls move that came to mind. And it was a bit of a slow release. You're not a very good team. And you have a guy who you recently picked 5th overall and widely considered another player who is widely considered one of the toughest players in the league. Are you trading them and getting better?
No,
probably not.
Yeah.
Unless
depends on your return.
Well, unless it's June 23rd, 2011, you're the LA Kings and you trade Braden Shen with Wayne Simmons and a 2nd round pick in 2012 to Philadelphia for Mike Richards and Rob Bordson. So basically just Mike Richards.
No offense to Rob, but
I don't know
I don't know who you are.
And even Steve doesn't know who he is.
You traded
I've never heard of
Wayne
you.
Simmons and Braden Shen for a guy who helped you win 2 cups.
Yeah.
Right? Like you need to be bold.
Concerning.
Who
was on the other end of the Tkachuk
Treliving? You know what? I think Treliving was in a spot where okay, here's what happened. Here's what honestly happened. Maloney stepped in and said, we're not signing Johnny Gaudreau to that contract because he wanted what he wanted. And then at the last second, Maloney said to Treliving, okay, fine, offer him the deal. But at that point, had they given him that offer at training camp, Gaudreau would have signed it, right? And then, but after that, they had lost to the Edmonton Oilers. They got like
in an embarrassing
fashion, and Gaudreau was really pissed with Calgary management, who, by the way, are a pain in the ass. And Treliving would go on to be really pissed with Calgary management because they wouldn't even let him hire the coach.
Left.
Well, exactly. And so then they finally give approval on the night of free agency. Okay, give Johnny the contract, and Johnny goes, "No thanks." And you know what Matthew Tkachuk says? Well, if Johnny's gone, I am too. And I got a year left, and I'm not. He called them and said, "I'm not signing here."
Is
so
one of the
Treliving
best-
is like, well, I'm going to have to make the best of this.
One of the best lines in hockey.
40.
Elias Lindholm, Johnny Gaudreau, Matthew Tkachuk. It was
one line,
automatic.
120 goals.
It's unbelievable.
Now, your Maloney story, does that sound anything like Treliving got somewhere and Brendan Shanahan told him, you got to keep
Sounds like
Mitch
Dubas.
Marner?
Sounds like Dubas. Well, I mean, yeah, if you wanted the job, you have to keep Mitch.
Does that not sound a little familiar?
Sure does.
It sounds like we're making excuses for a bad move.
Brad Treliving,
you know what, man?
deserves to be president, like, of somewhere. Like, just so he gets to make these decisions now. Be free. I want to bring Brad Treliving to a big Brad Treliving park where he can hang out with other Brad Treliving. He can just frolic like Charizard. It's so unfair. It's so unfair.
Because if we're talking about original sins for him in two different spots, the one is he got to Toronto, he had to agree, like, hey, if you're going to run this team, you can't really move Mitch before his no move clause kicks in like a couple weeks.
Yep.
Then he just got there, so he's not going to do it.
I just got
And then now he can't get Rantanen for him. And then the other one is you traded Matthew Tkachuk and Jonathan Huberdeau. And if we're going to excuse those, like the excuses are they're both not his fault, but they're also his decision because he's the GM in both those cases.
Yes.
For me,
he has to wear it. I'm not saying he doesn't have to wear it. I'm just telling you what happened.
Yeah. Sure.
Here, Adam. I'm gonna propose a trade. Okay,
you're gonna cross your legs too.
So,
All right.
So you got a nice car.
Okay.
And I'm gonna trade you a nice car too. What do you say?
Well, I don't know how you've kept your car. I don't know anything
how about this?
your
How about this? You trade me a nice car, a nice newer car, and I'll give you 2 really nice but slightly older cars.
No thanks.
Oh, okay. That's not where.
Oh yes, please.
Thank you.
I want that so bad.
Thank you. Okay, now it's important that I tell you the best car out of the 2 that I have to offer you belongs to my parents. So I actually don't have the rights to trade it. What do you think of the deal?
It feels like it's not complete yet.
Yeah, it feels like it doesn't fucking matter what we've negotiated.
Yeah.
Because it's not mine to sell. That's Mitch!
Yeah.
Mitch didn't prevent the Leafs from doing anything. They had 4 entire years to prepare for his no move kicking in, and they didn't care. And I'm going to scream that from the rooftop for as long as it takes for people to understand.
Looking at how these playoffs played out, I think there's a case where you should have done the Matthew Knies for Mikko Rantanen deal.
I agree with you.
I think because you have Marner and Rantanen for this playoff run, and then you have Mikko Rantanen for 8 years because we know that came with an extension.
Yeah, he would have signed here.
That is I love Matthew Knies, I think more than life itself. The only way that's palatable is if Rantanen agrees to the extension.
And he would have.
Yeah, so
that's already been reported.
We don't have to consider that.
Yeah.
He did it.
Yeah.
12 and a half. And Marner walks. Marner still walks in that scenario. But you're able to go get Besser or Bennett or whoever else is available in the free agency market. And you're probably through to the 3rd round.
Matthew Knies is great. He's not Mikko Rantanen.
No.
And I think we're at the point now. I'm gonna drop my coffee. There's a good thing there's nothing in it. We're at the point now where it's about winning this season. And having a team with Marner and Rantanen and Willie and Matthews seems like a better shot at winning than their current construction, where they lost.
Mm-hmm.
I think Brad Treliving should have made that deal. I think he made a mistake.
I wanted.
Damn.
And I think there's the mistakes are adding up a little outside of the decor.
I don't think that Brendan Shanahan. So here's another Knies trade that didn't happen. And this is constantly misreported, and I'm going to correct it for you. Okay? People don't understand this deal.
Well, who's your source on it?
So here's the deal. The Leafs were going to have... They had shitty goaltending. I'm not sure if you remember this, but they had shitty goaltending going into the 2022 playoffs against Tampa. Right? I think it was 2022. Or maybe it was 21. It doesn't really matter. They had shitty
It was 22.
And they had shitty goaltending. And one thing that Kyle Dubas did understand is goalies that have a track record. And he offered and made a deal with Kyle Davidson. Now, you'll remember, this is the year where Marc-Andre Fleury was punted out of Vegas for nothing and won the Vezina.
Yeah, reigning Vezina winner.
Reigning Vezina guy goes to Chicago. Marc-Andre Fleury has a no trade in his contract. The Leafs were going to send Matthew Knies, 2 first-round picks. Okay, so there's your Minton and your Cowan.
It's quite a lot.
For Marc-Andre Fleury and Brandon Hagel. And the story goes that Dubas went into Shanahan's office and Shanahan said, "Who the hell is Brandon Hagel?" That's what I've been told. Who is this? No, we're keeping Knies. Are you out of your mind? And
Hagel.
How many goals has he scored just in the last few years?
Now wait, though. This deal, there was a time it looked suspect. He had 21 goals and 16 assists for 37 points in 55 games as a young player with the very not good Chicago Blackhawks. Goes to Tampa, 22 games, 4 goals, 3 assists, 7 points. Even in that 23-game playoff run, he only had 2 goals, 4 assists, 6 points. But in the 7-game series against the Leafs, he drew 8 penalties. 8. Since then, he has put up seasons of 30, 26, and 35 goals, 64, 75, and 90 points.
As much as I love Matthew Knies, if Matthew Knies reaches those heights, we'll be thrilled.
Yes.
And then so here's the other part of it, that deal that people don't understand is that Marc-Andre Fleury was not only willing to waive his no trade to come here, he was willing to extend.
Yeah, but who's your source?
And then
who's your source?
More than believe it or not that guy on this deal, not that guy on this deal. And then beyond that,
I don't believe you.
So Shanny says no chance in hell are we trading Matthew Knies. So they go back and Kyle goes to Kyle Davidson and says, "I'm sorry, we're going to have to amend this deal if we want to make anything happen." And so they come to an agreement, and I think it was like a first-round pick for Marc-Andre Fleury, and Shanny still shut it down.
You're missing the most important part of the first part of the deal.
Which is what?
There's a player that was also going from Toronto to Chicago.
Was it not Knies and 2 firsts?
And there's one more guy.
Who was the guy?
Peter Mrazek.
Peter Mrazek. You're right.
He was when Dreger had
because they had to make the
this.
salary work.
Yeah, Peter Mrazek was also in the deal.
This is the Matt Murray Peter Mrazek year, where Ilya Samsonov came in and stole the net.
I'm going to be sick.
I feel like this is really the Peter Mrazek trade.
Yeah,
Marc-Andre Fleury, who Hall of Fame, get out of here. This is the Peter Mrazek trade.
I am going to actually vom.
And when you go back and you look at that deal, listen, I love Matthew Knies. I just called him a future captain.
Yeah.
But Brandon Hagel is like a first liner on the Canadian Olympic team.
Well,
here's the thing. What do you want me to say?
I love Matthew Knies. I'm not trading him.
No, not now. Not now.
Oh, sorry. It's for Hagel? Okay. No, hey, no, screw you. I'm not trading him. Oh, it's for Rantanen with an extension?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't like Matthew Knies is great, but the player you're getting back helps you win in that moment.
Yes.
And I'm tired of deals for the future with this team because there's been so much losing in the organization. Whenever they have these opportunities, you need to just go for it that year. I commend Colorado for at least trying. Booger McFarland fell on his face, trying real hard this year to go for it, but at least he tried. Brock Nelson's going to walk for nothing and never play in Colorado ever again.
He might walk to Toronto.
At least he tried it. You know, I commend him for doing that. The Rantanen thing, I think he bungled, but the rest of it, going for it and getting guys for future assets, like just do it each time. There's too much losing here.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. I want to talk about John Tavares because he was emphatic, and then we'll move on to the game.
Sure.
He was emphatic about wanting.
Here. We had 2 hours.
Okay, all right. We still got to hit it, and we'll hit the game too because there's a couple plays in the game we got to hit. Tavares was emphatic about wanting to stay here.
Yep.
I think it's also fair to say that outside of the one game where he had 2 goals in the Florida series, he wasn't really a factor.
No.
If this guy's here at $5 million next year, and he is going to take steps back. He's 34.
Of course.
There are players like Pavelski who are able to. Pavelski was never the greatest skater on earth.
When he signed that deal with Dallas, I thought it was a dog's breakfast. 3 years at 7, you must be out of your mind.
He was great.
He was great.
So do you have I'm not saying you're going to get Pavelski out of him, but do you see a role here for John Tavares if he's your third line guy and he's getting favorable matchups?
I would like to see wholesale changes, and that includes John Tavares.
Okay.
I'm open to, I think almost anything with him is a good outcome. You replace him completely, great. He stays for less, great. Like, I'm open to both.
Apparently he had positive conversations with Tree and with Berube. If Tree's still here, then we'll see. Okay, now let's move on to the game. There's a couple of things. Obviously, we know the Canes have not won an Eastern Conference final game since 2009 against the who?
Panthers?
Sabres.
Oh, the Sabres. Really?
The last Eastern Conference final win.
Wow.
According to StatMuse, are you ready for this? They are 0 for 13.
StatMuse is garbage.
The ECF game, Carolina Hurricanes.
Yeah, you ever tried to look something up on StatMuse?
Oh,
That's
it's
like
painful.
a little difficult.
It's painful.
Like I refuse to use StatMuse. It's like, hey, how many career goals does Auston Matthews have? Michael Jordan has 6 championships.
Yeah, no,
like that's what StatMuse. Yeah, it's so
it's
bad.
annoying.
Steve.
No,
I never use it anymore.
I have to Google something and then wait for the StatMuse thing to come up on Google before I can use StatMuse.
No, Adam, you should just go look it up. Use StatMuse. Like, go to
the last Eastern Conference final game the Carolina Hurricanes won was against the Buffalo Sabres.
Yeah, don't
use for 13.
That is so one nice thing that's come up in these playoffs is the Leafs are not totally alone in crazy futility. That is, how on earth do you, over the course of a generation, put together a team that is good enough to somewhat consistently make
second round at least
conference final, but not good enough to win a single game?
Yeah.
That's bananas.
Well,
for 13?
The Panthers are the first team with a plus 13 goal differential on the road over a 3-game span since the 1988 Red Wings. Devastating stat. Now, most of that's due to the Leafs, but I think, hey, if that bothers you, or if that makes you go, wow, that's crazy, maybe you'll be more on board with the Leafs making some big changes this year.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane.
Do the Hurricanes have to blow it up?
I think they do need to be a little bit more bold. They were bold this year. I think they're more willing to be a little bit more bold. Stankoven looked good last night.
More blow in a circle.
Is Rod Brindamore's job in trouble?
I don't know, because their owner's weird. You know what I mean? Yeah. Doesn't everything in Carolina come back to their owner is the most weird? He's so friggin' weird.
He's from what we're hearing, I'm not quite the same, but he's interfering in a way that it's like Jerry Jones, James Dolan sort of. And it's his. He can do what he wants, but certainly there is hints of that. Jerry and James are very different people, by the way. I don't mean it like that, but it's pretty clear that they interfere with. Jerry runs the Cowboys openly. James interferes with the Rangers and the Knicks.
I think,
and everything else. MSG.
There's something to be said about Tom Dundon is one of the most strange owners in the NHL, and also it's crazy how much we and everyone else carved Eric Tulsky after the Rantanen saga, and they're still in the Final Four.
Yeah. I mean, listen, Rantanen could play the Canes
in the Cup final.
He might have had to go through both of his former teams to win a Cup.
He's just Scott Pilgriming it all the way to a Cup. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. All right, now let's look at Svechnikov. He got into Bob's head, literally, with his knee.
No.
Now, is this just guys, did he introduce himself to the series here?
That's bad.
No,
those guys are Team Russia teammates. They know each other well. He's just playing hard. That's all he's doing there. Come on.
Jesse?
Yeah?
What do you think?
No, it's dangerous.
It's bad and it's wrong?
You shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah, I'm being an asshole. This is obviously dangerous and shouldn't be allowed. Can everyone say it with me?
Even if it's not, well, if it's a Leaf, it should be allowed.
If it's a Leaf, make it so that he can't even walk or talk.
Yeah.
For sure. But if it's anyone else, get this out of our game. Can't have it.
Now, the Carolina Hurricanes were absolutely getting run out of the building.
Yeah.
I have to give them credit, though, when they did score the second goal of the game for them.
Mm-hmm.
the fans that were still there were still rowdy about it, and I respect that.
Yeah.
The Storm Surge they are that was the Carolina's first loss at home these playoffs.
Yeah, they're
That's
not
nuts.
quite at boo territory.
No, they deserve benefit of the doubt. Jesse,
why are you letting the Panthers off the hook here? With the hits to the head.
Oh, you mean the Ekblad to Jackson Blake?
You think it's just the Panthers?
Oh no,
or the Hurricanes who are going up?
Because I think we talk about the news. Like, if you want to talk about the olds, if you want to talk about shit that happens all the damn time, we can spend a few minutes to be like, head trauma's bad.
Look at how Aaron Ekblad. This is the exact same thing he did to Hagel.
Yeah, he punched him. He punches Blake in the head
with his forearm.
Like, what?
With his elbow. He elbowed him.
And he's going to get away with this because it went kind of unnoticed.
He's going to get away with it. It's totally fine. League doesn't like the Hurricanes either. Fuck them.
Like, it's insane.
No, this happens every year. This happens every year. The Panthers are built by the boldness of Bill Zito and a
knowledge that they're not going to get it. They're not going to get suspended. They're
It's
just not.
Hansel and Gretel if all the breadcrumbs were just head trauma.
Look how direct this is.
It's
like, it's just right.
And the fact that they're probably not even going to look at it is crazy. Like, I don't understand that.
We haven't heard anything yet.
Not even the media is talking about it. Like, no one's talking about it. And I think it's because it was the thing that makes this worse is that the game was out of hand. And in the regular season when those things happened, remember when Morgan Riley cross-checked Ridley Grigg in the head? They're like, game was out of hand.
Yep.
This was not a thing that happened during the play. This hit is post-play. Jackson Blake has already scored.
Pound their fucking D so that when Game 7 comes, they have nothing left. Game 1 of the series. Game 1 of the series. Pay attention. Game 1 of the series.
Yep.
They're softening you up like friggin' beef.
I'll give the Canes credit. They did try to hit them.
Yeah, like, okay, Svechnikov went and hit Bob. All right. We're going to give you head trauma right back. And the most experienced officials in the game were like, all this seems fine to me. And George Perro says, hey, this is fine to me. And all the other people in his department who are just his friends who he hired are like, this seems fine to me. And Gary Bettman didn't watch the game, but I'm sure someone told him about it. And he said, seems fine to me. I don't know. They don't care. Why am I supposed to?
Steve, I don't know if the call's coming from in the house, but Adam Campbell Sifu didn't even want to show this today. He started with Svechnikov and was going to move on to Brad Marchand. Wasn't even going to mention Ekblad.
I'm surprised,
right.
Adam. You know, this has to be such...
Is Gregory your dad?
This has to be such a conflict of This has to be such a conflict of interest because on one hand, you don't want a player on your team suspended. But on the other hand, the minority owner of your team wants to imprison Canadians, which Aaron Ekblad is one. So what do you? How do you play that?
It's a difficult balance.
It's a difficult balance.
Yeah.
You know, he's on my team. He plays for a country I don't acknowledge as a country.
Isn't it good to know that no matter where you are at with your finances, you can still lose your mind to the internet?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether you're rich or poor. You're all susceptible.
That internet can really affect people's brains.
To me, that is evidence that you talk to someone once doesn't mean you know them.
Yeah.
We talked to him for 45 minutes.
Really
I was like, what a cool guy.
Yeah, really liked him.
And then, like, dude, the 51st State tweet was the tip of the friggin' iceberg.
Oh, yeah. He's taken that Twitter account down for a good reason.
Talking about, like, you must be spec ed or something.
Yeah, no, let's not repeat it. It's okay.
Well,
it was bad.
Well,
it was bad. Well, hey, it was bad. You can trust us on that. That's all you need to know.
It was quite bad.
Jesse, the last thing, which I thought was absolutely hilarious, and I don't know at this point whether this was on purpose or not, but Brad Marchand sure felt like it was. Shane Gostisbehere clears the puck into Brad Marchand's stomach. And Brad Marchand comes at him like it's a medieval spearman battle, and he's charging the line. Look at it. He just now. I don't think Gostisbehere is actually trying to do this.
I do.
He just got rocked by Marchand, and he turns around and he's like, "I'm going to shoot the puck at you."
But now,
Marchand is 100% in the right, and you know how wrong you got to be to drag that quote out of me.
If you're Gostisbehere, like, you don't do that. I'm not on his side here. I'm on Marchand's
I thought it was hilarious.
You shoot the puck at me?
I thought it was hilarious.
I hope you're hungry. I'm about to feed you these hands.
And he did a good job.
And you know what? Like, honestly, with all the bad credit Brad has built up, this was coming.
Okay.
This was coming.
Yeah, but you shoot the puck at me. I'm going to try to take your leg off.
And that's fine. You know what I liked, though? At least the Carolina Hurricanes were like, okay, you're going to fuck around. We're going to fuck around back. The Leafs never did that.
Yes.
They still lost by 3.
And yeah, they did. They did. But Brad comes at him swinging his stick.
This guy shot the puck at his fucking face.
He's right. Like, honestly,
I laughed.
This is one of the most chicken shit things you can do. Who did it?
From Captain Chicken Shit himself?
No, but
I know.
He stooped to the level.
He stooped below. No, this is what he's done his whole career. And his teammates have done their whole careers, not just on the Panthers, but on the Bruins, is they drive you nuts until you do something that is just across the board not allowed. There's no one's going to be like, yeah, that's fine.
No.
I swear this happened earlier this season where someone shot a puck and it hit someone. I think it was someone on the Panthers. Wasn't it at Mikkola or something? Or was Mikkola the one who shot it?
That's when you did all your pearl clutching. Because it was from one end of the ice, and I was like, Steve, it's not that big of a deal.
It's a slap shot directly at a person.
Yeah.
But this is a shot like, boy, they're not far apart at all. No, this is chicken shit from
the rest of the league.
Yeah.
I think the rest of the league's probably like, it's okay. I'm sure they love it. God, listen, I'm sorry. You just can't win it. And I love Brad. I do. I fucking hate how much I love Brad. And I hope he's a Leaf next year, honestly.
I don't.
But
I don't want that for him. I think that's a terrible
that's a terrible one for him. But I have to say, like, if anybody's earned it.
Oh, he's earned it. But, like, I think Carlo Koliakovo had a great point. Like, you shoot a puck at someone, at least do them the courtesy of taking your gloves off.
Yes, and he should have done that.
Yeah,
I agree.
And he didn't.
I totally agree.
Totally chicken shit.
Yeah. And that's why this series is going to be a lot more fun than people are giving it credit for. It was a fun game.
Oh, it's the Carolina Hurricanes snapping. Like, they were going to be the second toughest team, I think, in either series. I think the Leafs would have bullied them, and I think the Panthers are obviously going to bully them. It is a weakness of theirs.
Yes.
I'm not calling them soft, because I definitely wouldn't say that. I think they're more from the Tampa mold of we're not going to initiate, but we're not going to take any shit either.
Yeah.
Avalanche a little bit too. But like that's crazy. That's a crazy thing.
It was Nico Mikkola who shot the puck at David Savard.
Right.
From one end of the ice to the other. And
Why
I
is he
was
doing
like,
that? Poor
it's not that big of a deal, because you guys were like, he could have died. I think the Gostisbehere one, I think, is much worse.
There was 2 seconds left in a game the Panthers were losing. He did it on purpose because he's an asshole.
Yeah, and he got fined.
Nico Mikkola's an asshole.
Well, Gostisbehere's
he got
fined, right?
Yeah, fined.
I bet. Yeah, here it comes.
You don't think so?
Everything from last night is very literally simply allowed.
I agree.
You don't think there's going to be any fines?
No.
And they booted Marchand from the game. So.
It's 1:30
when he was. Did you, Steve? I don't know if you saw this, but he went to the penalty box, and then the linesman has to come over and tell him that he's out of the game. And Brad Marchand gets into his face and just goes, "What the fuck?
What the fuck are you talking about?"
He was like, "What do you mean me?"
Yeah,
he's right.
The Hurricanes went on the power play after that play. The Hurricanes went on the power play.
That's insane. That's insane.
That's why
and
I'm like,
what if they score on that power play and come back?
Oh no! What if you punch a goalie in the head and win the series?
Know.
I don't know, man. I wouldn't know what that could what could possibly happen.
There's
should the NHL control its league? I don't know.
I want people to appreciate the complete internal conflict that's going on here. There's the objective hockey fan in me who's like, yeah, that's not allowed. And then there's the Leaf fan in me. Like, if these playoffs have proven anything, it is beyond the shadow of a doubt. 31 out of 32 fan bases hate the Leafs, and you should ignore them and their opinions about everything to do with your hockey team. Blanket ignore them. They wish you ill. They want all your players to lose and get hurt. They do not care. All of your legitimate concerns are whiny little gripes. They do not fucking care. So you know what? Yeah, elbow their goalie in the head. Whatever. Who the fuck cares? That's the conflict that's going on. Svechnikov can't do that. That's bullshit. And also, where were you for my team? It's two different ways to look at it.
Oopsies poopsies.
Oopsies poopsies. You know what? No, Svechnikov and Bob, they're part of the Russian hockey program. Those guys are buddies. He didn't mean to. He called him afterwards. And
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It just happened.
I am looking forward to... I'm looking forward to Gostisbehere and Marchand all series long. This is only game one, baby. It was fun. Now, Steve Dangle, Dallas and Edmonton watch along the entire series, probably in his shoulder pads on Sunday, which is great. You got to tune in for that.
Yeah, you gotta
Let's
do that.
wrap up the show because it's been another long one.
Yes, I'm just happy that David Savard's still alive.
Me too. I love
You
Treebeard.
guys suck.
The Steve Dangle Podcast. Follow the guys on Twitter at Steve_Dangle, at Adam WYLDE, and at Jesse Blake. Connection